We've got a long agenda today, so let's get started on time, which is kind of unique for us. So with that, Alexis, if you could call the please.
President Zinsman,
Here.
Vice President Lee,
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman, Dr. Crockett,
Present.
Mr. Close,
Here.
Mr. Mason, Ms. Rice,
Here.
Mr. Swanson,
Present.
Mr. Twist, Ms. Yana. President Zinsman, you have a quorum.
All right, if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. All right, we will start off with our calls to the public. We have a number of them this morning, and I'll just take them in the order that they are up here. Eric Lambert, Jeremy Solom, are you a tag team? Excellent. So the way public comment works is state your name for the record. Alexis will have a timer for 3 minutes. And if the timer does go off, please just wrap up your comments. And
Eric Lambert.
Jeremy Solom.
welcome.
Thank you. So we're here to talk about Copper State Academy, and something that's really unique about what they're trying to do is just offer an entrepreneurial spirit in students. And growing up in this community and starting basically my own business from the ground up in 2004, and not really having something like that, I think is a great thing that they're trying to do to offer that to students in high school. Would have been a great help for me versus going through all the trials and tribulations on your own and not really having much guidance, but looking for mentors later on. But having that in a high school setting, I think would have been extremely helpful.
Yeah. Being an entrepreneur straight out of high school for the last 12 years of my life, it would have been a nice tool to have. Basically carve that path a little easier for me versus, the growing pains of figuring out yourself. It's something I've never experienced in any high school. I think it would be a tremendous experience for any young adult that wants some options. And I think providing those options to the youth is a great, it will give them just the right tools to make decisions, whether they want to be their own business owner, they do want to go to college, continue that education. It just creates a lot of options for them, which I think is going to be great for the community. Haven't seen anything like it in the area, so I'm really excited for them to press on and be a good opportunity.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be along for the ride and help them help those students, special guest speakers or something that they can learn from real world experience. And yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Next up, Jesus Cardenas. Again, if you could state your name for the record and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Jesus Retes, and I've known Mr. and Mrs. Holden, so Pamela and Mark, from the previous charter school that I went through high school. And I came to speak for them because I feel like they're a key, integral part of my education. And I feel like that's the great impact that teachers have. So I feel like once they left, a big portion of what you learn and carry on through university, or even core values that you learn during middle school and high school. So I feel like they'll continue that. And something I remember is that through the classes that they taught, so like Mrs. Holden and entrepreneurship, she taught very hands-on, even real-world applications, projects, very almost intensive training in a sense, and she really thought her educational plans and what she was going to do. So I feel like they would continue keeping that in their plans, or they would really think of how to benefit the students. And also Mr. Holden and her, they taught us work ethics, which is something that you don't leave it behind in school. You continue using it for the rest of your life, if it's college, university, work. So whatever you learn, you always continue with that for the rest of your life. And I think that whatever they want to teach in their academy or build, it would be beneficial for the students.
Excellent. And you were here to speak on behalf of Copper State Academy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Nestor Castillo. Apologize if I got your name wrong. I'm over 40 and my eyesight isn't great and your handwriting is really tiny. So apologize if I got your name wrong. So state your name for the record and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. My name is Nestor Castillo. So I've known Mr. and Mrs. Holden for a really long time from that previous charter school. They are amazing teachers, and one of the amazing things about them is that they really care about their students. I remember at the charter school that I was at, they helped me out after school for my college applications, helped me do my college essays, and they really show that they really care about all the other students as well. They will literally take the time just to talk to them and help them out with anything that they need, especially for really important things. They also have an amazing work ethic that also stuck with me. That has really helped me out throughout the years, helped me out through also pursuing my art career that Mr. Holden has helped me build as well. I feel like with this academy, they are really going to make changes to the students to help these students build a path to whatever career they would like. And in many ways, they are also going to help them through trying to get into any colleges or get into anything that they would like to go through through their life. I really feel like they would be some amazing teachers.
Thank you. And you were speaking on behalf of Copper State Academy, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Alexis, do we know who joined?
I don't.
Okay. On the phone, who joined?
Hi, it's Rachel. I apologize for the delay.
No problem. We just so you know, we are on item D, call to the public. All right. Next up is Melinda Newman.
No.
And if you could state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Melinda Newman. I'm speaking on behalf of Copper State Academy. And I worked with Mr. and Mrs. Holden for 9 years. And basically, they taught me how to teach and taught me how to create engaging lessons and create an inclusive environment. They were very supportive. They worked with the whole community and were just incredible teachers. And I know they'll create an amazing school where all students can learn.
Excellent. Thank you very much for being here. Aylin Melendrez. And again, if you could state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Eileen Melendrez, and I am speaking on behalf of Copper State Academy. I'm currently a student at ASU studying mechanical engineering. I had the privilege of meeting both Mr. and Mrs. Holden back when I attended Pan American Charter School. Mr. Holden was my 7th grade art teacher, and I recall always feeling that I was challenged being in this class. I was challenged to think differently, challenged to do better, challenged to step out of my comfort zone. Not only artistically, but personally as well. I learned to stop underestimating my abilities. And I have kept this lesson as I began my first year as a college student. Although I did not personally have Mrs. Holden as a teacher, it doesn't take me being her student to know that she is more than capable of being a great teacher and a guide. I have seen a list of potential courses that would be offered at Copper State Academy, and their connection to real-world application is crucial. The goal of Copper State is to fully prepare students with the resources necessary to pursue a higher education which can be focused on business or art. There is no doubt that Mr. and Mrs. Holden will deliver and reach the school's objective when given the opportunity. We both are more than qualified and have the passion and drive to see generations of students achieve their dreams and be ready for what is out there for them. I undoubtedly recommend Copper State Academy to any student that has a desire to succeed in college or the workforce. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, Arlie Melendres. Hi. You can state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Arlie Melendres, and I am privileged here today to be standing on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Holden and Copper State Academy. Growing up, I was a well-performing student. School came quite easy, and I felt I was never truly academically challenged. Then I got to 7th grade, and I took fine arts with Mr. Holden. This was the first time I'd ever received anything below an A. I realized that this class was nothing like I had taken before. I had to work hard, try again and again, and then some more. Mr. Holden did not accept any work that he didn't think was my absolute best. I came to understand the definition of perseverance, and not only was I being challenged academically, but also personally. I left Mr. Holden's class with a shifted perspective, creative abilities, and a great appreciation for country music. Ms. Holden was my business and technology teacher. The concepts we learned in her class allowed me to think from a global perspective. Her class allowed me to address important social issues and then identify potential solutions. As an 8th grader, I did not realize just how much this class would prepare me for life and college. I am 5 months away from graduating with a degree in engineering, away from becoming the first in my family to graduate from college, and I'm 5 months away from fulfilling my family and I's biggest dream. And I can wholeheartedly say that I owe a part of this to the Holdens and what they have taught me. I have no doubt that they will transform the lives of many other young minds in the fields of business and design. I undoubtedly recommend Copper State Academy to anyone with a thirst for success and a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexis, do we have any other calls to the public? Okay. All right. That concludes our call to the public. Next up, charter amendments. Items 1 and 2 are both Vista College Prep. So,
good morning. My name is Shannon Black. Good morning, President Sussman, Vice President Lee. Vista College Preparatory, Inc. has submitted 2 separate amendment requests, one to add a new middle school to its charter, and a second to add a new elementary school and increase the enrollment cap from 1377 to 1971. The proposed middle school would serve grades 5 through 8, and the elementary school would serve grades K through 4, both in the Levine and South Mountain area. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because its ADM is only within 48% of its current enrollment cap, and trends do not indicate that it will exceed its enrollment cap within the next 3 years.
excellent. Are there any questions of staff before? All right. Is there a representative from Vista College Prep here, please? Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, President Senseman, board members, and staff for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Julia Meyerson, and I'm the founder and executive director at Vista College Prep. Vista College Prep is a high-performing kindergarten through 7th grade elementary school, educating a high minority and low-income student population. Over 90% of our students qualify for free and reduced price lunch, and over 90% are minority students. We opened in August 2013 with kindergarten and 1st grade. 7 years later, we now operate 2 kindergarten through 5th grade campuses in downtown Phoenix and Maryvale, and we're in the 1st year of our middle school. Today, we are grateful to be on the agenda, hoping to increase our impact by opening 2 new schools. We've built our school model through the study of high-performing charter schools across the country, schools that consistently demonstrate that demographics do not determine destiny. And for the last 4 years, when looking at our AZ Merit results, our students have dramatically outperformed all low-income schools in Phoenix, and we're number 2 in the entire state. In 2018, Vista College Prep was only one of 5 schools to receive a National Blue Ribbon Award from the U.S. Department of Education, and the only one serving our demographic. Just as we have for our past 3 campuses, our goal is to start small. On that note, the one item I wanted to highlight is the indicator related to VCP's ADM being within 85% of our enrollment cap and our enrollment trend. We're an intentionally slow growth model, and as a result, on a given year, we may not meet the enrollment cap that we have set for ourselves. However, that is also very intentional. Based on our past growth and the fact that we are still growing across all 3 schools, we are requesting to adjust our enrollment cap to reflect the total capacity of all 5 schools. Our team continues to be driven by what is possible, and we're proud to be part of this impactful work and to be on today's agenda requesting that the board supports our amendment request to open 2 new schools. Thank you to board staff who've been incredibly responsive and thoughtful as we have thought through our expansion plans. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Excellent. Thank you. Board members, are there any questions? Yes, please.
Can you just talk a little bit about your Vista College Prep Maryvale AZ Merit info? Because there's just a lot of stars.
Yeah, so I actually don't know why that is. I have all of that for you. Across all campuses, so I can actually share with you, we surpassed both the state average in ELA and math, as well as our local district by a significant amount as well. So I think that we only are graduating or testing approximately 44 students, and so I think that due to a small percentage, they may not be able to submit but it's in the large AZ Merit file, like all of our results. So.
And I just had one other
Sure.
question. Talk to me about your FY18 versus FY19 data. Just there's a little bit of a drop, so you're still overperforming. I mean, compared.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if there was anything
Academically.
you guys noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually did all of the analysis ourselves clearly and kind of trying to understand all of the data. And so I think a couple first is, as we looked at actually our cohort level data, so students who've been with us for 2 years, 3 years, or since kindergarten, that has dramatically increased when looking at each of those different cohort sectors. So if looking at our kind of total percentages, we're 59% and 63% in math. Looking at ELA, if you've been with us for greater than 2 years, you're at 67%. Greater than 3 years, you're at 71%. And if you've been with us since kindergarten, 77%. And that's the same in math. So for math, the increase is greater than 2 years. If you've been with us for at least 2 years, 71, 75, and then 85% proficient. And so what we found is that, again, we backfill throughout all of our grades. And so last year was a little bit more mobility than we've typically seen. But again, I think because we're so committed to backfilling, we'll take a student the day before the state assessment. We deeply believe in that. And I think what our data does show is that at least when you've been with us for at least a year, at least 2 years, we're getting you to that very high proficiency level.
Perfect. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Myerson? All right. Is there Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Julie, thank you. Just on the slow growth. So how do you, do you get the right teacher and then you decide you can add students? Or, how does that process work?
Sure. So we just basically start with a few grade bands. So we're proposing to open the K4 campus with just K2 and the 5th through 8th campus with just 5th grade. And so basically growing with our students. And so as those cohorts increase in grades, it's having the next grade for that group of students. So basically just starting small with grade bands, less so anything around enrollment specifically.
Thank you. And then
You're welcome.
just one more question.
Sure.
From a financial perspective, slow growth, how does that impact your ability to sleep at night knowing that you're going to be able to make
Yes, I'd say it's more challenging than if I were to open K-8. And so I think we thought about that quite a bit back in 7 years ago when we even started. I think I opened the first campus, kindergarten through first grade, which everybody said would be a disaster just with half-day kindergarten funding, et cetera. But I think that what we found as we looked around the country and kind of studied some of the highest performing schools, we found that that was actually a really strong indicator of academic success. And so our focus is really how do we build that culture early on and have that continue throughout our K-8 school. It does require additional fundraising. It does require applying for additional grants. That's something that we've been really successful at over the course of the last 7 years. But I think that it is automatically a challenge. I think we also have small class sizes, so we only have 22 students in each class. So we've sort of made some intentional decisions because we believe that's what's best academically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion?
Yeah. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to 1, to add Vista College Preparatory ES number 4 and Vista College Preparatory Middle School number 5 to the contract of Vista College Preparatory Inc. And 2, to increase the enrollment cap of Vista College Preparatory Inc. from 730 to 998 students.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swanson. Alexis, if you could call the roll, please.
Vice President Lee,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
And I'd just like to say I visited your school. I think it's an excellent model, and I'm very happy to vote for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Close,
Aye.
Ms. Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Yes.
Mr. Twist,
Aye.
Ms. Yana,
Aye.
President Sensman.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Before we move on, I just want to, Rachel and John, I just want to compliment Shannon. As we all know, Shannon is one of our new EPMs and was up here acting like a pro doing that agenda item. So I, again, just really want to applaud staff for all of the work that you guys have put in to get our new staff. And there's the whole front row right behind them is new staff. To get them up to speed on what we have to do. So again, I just wanted to applaud all the work and the effort that you guys have been putting in. On item G, new charter applications, wanted to say we're not going to take a break. So if anyone individually needs to take a break, let's do that. I brought snacks. I intend to work through lunch so we can get this done. We only have the room for today. And so ADE needed to take it back for tomorrow. So we are going to give all of these as much time as they need, but just know we're going to go until we're done today. And there are snacks behind us and coffee. And I want to first, before we get into them, again, thank staff, thank Rachel. It'll be the Rachel show today, going through all the applications. But I know, board members, if you have read all of the material, the 4,000 pages, as Jim reminded me, 4,000 pages of material that we've all gone through. I really want to applaud our TRP committee. I want to applaud our staff that has put together, I think, some incredible packages, and the work that went into the applications that we have here today is nothing short of incredible. So just really want to make sure that we don't miss that mark of how much work, the 8 months of work on staff part and of our new charter applicants that went into being here today. And so I don't want to lose sight of that as we kind of get into the meat of this. So with that, Rachel, I will turn it over to you for the rest of the day.
Fantastic. All right, President Sensman, Vice President Lee, board members, before you begin consideration of each new charter application that will be before you today, I would like to provide some background information about the application cycle. Applicants were required to submit applications by a deadline of June 19th, 2019. The applicants before you today have likely been working on these applications for a year or more. After submission, application packages were reviewed by board staff for administrative completeness, which includes ensuring that all materials are present and ready for review and that the application fee has been submitted. After the administrative review, applications are forwarded to the Technical Review Panel, or TRP, to undergo the substantive review of the application package. Individuals for the Technical Review Panel are recruited from across the country. Applicants for the TRP submit resumes and written responses to questions related to TRP qualifications. Board staff reviews these resumes and written responses and chooses top candidates with expertise in charter school business, operations, and academics. Once these individuals are chosen, teams are formed to review applications. Board staff strives to ensure that the experience on these teams is well balanced in each of the 3 areas that were previously mentioned. Additionally, board staff attempts to assign teams to applications in which they may have greater expertise. For example, if an application indicates that it will serve an alternative population as defined by the Arizona Department of Education, we try to assign the application to a team with experience and expertise with that population or a chosen model. Additionally, applications and team members are reviewed to ensure that any potential conflicts are avoided. For example, if an applicant intends to open in a certain city, the team is comprised of individuals that do not have charters in that city or surrounding areas and are not currently looking to expand to that area. These processes help to ensure that each team reviewing an application is doing so objectively and without conflict. The board's criteria for substantive completeness is defined in the publicly released new charter application instructions. Using rubrics, the TRP reviews the application packages against the criteria set by the board, first through independent individual reviews, then through a consensus process that includes all 3 team members. After this initial review, the completed rubrics are released to the applicants, and they are given the opportunity to revise and resubmit their application packages based on the feedback provided by the TRP in the rubric. When the application packages are resubmitted, they go through a final review by the TRP against the same criteria, and once again, these rubrics, which again include feedback, are provided to applicants. Next, the TRP conducts a capacity interview with each applicant team. This opportunity is used to gain clarification on any areas of deficiency that still remain in the application, and also to assess the capacity of the applicant team. To do this, the TRP asks questions about the application itself, providing the applicant the opportunity to verbally address concerns the TRP may still have after the review of the paper application, whether in areas that met the standard or did not. These questions may also relate to concerns the TRP has about the viability or sustainability of an applicant's plan. Additionally, the TRP may ask scenario-based questions to understand the capacity of the team and its ability to work through situations or problems that may arise with the plans described in the application. After these interviews, the TRP confers to determine whether to provide the board a recommendation to approve or deny each application package. The TRP uses information from the paper application and the capacity interview to make this recommendation. Finally, the team leads with input from their additional team members write the recommendation reports using the information gathered from the application package, rubrics, and capacity interview. These reports are included in the board materials you have before you today. As you can see, the new charter application process is one that is both rigorous and lengthy, with many levels of review conducted by qualified individuals. Do you have any questions about the application process before we proceed to the first application?
Any questions? All right. Thank you. That was a very short but good. Knowing
so far my voice is holding out, so I'm going to call it a win. All right.
Well, knowing how much goes into it, that was actually short for what actually goes into it.
I tried to be as brief as possible.
So actually, yeah. So thank you for
You're welcome.
for reminding us of everything that you do.
Absolutely. Okay, the first application before you today. Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions has submitted a new charter application package to open Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions, serving grades 9 through 12 as a fully online program serving alternative students. The applicant proposes to open an online school, therefore it was required to submit an Arizona Online Instruction, or AOI, additional information package as a component of its written application package, which met the required criteria from Rio Salado. Additionally, the TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package does meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle because the applicant's operational plan scored 88.646% and the business plan scored 90.91%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP recommends that the revised application package for the applicant be approved.
Excellent. Are there representatives from Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions here? If you could come up, please. If you could give us an overview of your school and whatever you'd like to present to us today, we would welcome it.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for the time that you guys have invested in this as well. It has been a lengthy but very great process to kind of. I'm sorry. It's been a very neat process to watch how committed the team has been to make sure there are quality charter schools in the state of Arizona. My name is Travis Gostinger. I'm sorry, is that all set?
It's always tough to be the first one up. We only do this once a year, so you know. Are we good to go? All right. Okay.
Okay. Unfortunately, our slides got deleted. Just ignore the screen.
Yeah, just ignore all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Travis Gostinger. I'm one of the founders of Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions. My background is in business administration and finance, and I've had the privilege of being a charter school leader for the past 10 years. Our team, which has over 120 combined years of public and charter school experience, has been working for the past 2 years planning and engaging here in Arizona to get to this point. We know that on average, 13% of 15 to 26-year-olds are not in school or working in Maricopa County, and the need for the special populations is far greater. Our team is made up of very experienced charter school professionals. Dr. Tim Wood, a former long-term authorizer of Grand Valley State University, who had the largest and highest performing charter schools in the state, who is also a principal and a superintendent. Doug McNeil, Esquire, over here, who has been at the legal forefront of online and brick and mortar charter schools in Michigan for decades. Mr. Robert Giordano, a retired Army colonel who also has 30 years in education, first as supporting special education and highly at-risk students, as a school developer, application reviewer, board member, and now facilities and finance. Mr. Max Shafiq, an extremely accomplished finance officer, an operational leader who has a background in public school finance and auditing. Mrs. Brooke Druger, a lifelong educator who has started and runs 2 of the highest academically performing online charters in Michigan. And Mr. James Birmingham, a long-term traditional public school superintendent who saw a need in Michigan to serve overage and underaccredited students, and he founded Success Virtual Learning Centers of Michigan and currently operates that. Our team has a lifetime of charter school specific experience, which, despite the fact that we are a new organization, our decades and depth of experience in academics, operations, compliance, governance, community engagement, legal, and finance set us apart and lessen the risk for being able to charter us. We're asking to be chartered not only because of the need in Arizona and our collective experience, but because we're using some of the best cyber and blended practices and innovation to be able to support our students. So thank you so much for the consideration today. We look forward to discussing this further with you.
Excellent. Board members, are there any questions? I'll throw it out there first. Now, you're with the ESP and not with this charter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then what I heard from everyone was from Michigan. So tell me about Arizona and how you're going to, do you have anyone here from Arizona or that knows the community that you want to serve, or who could speak to? Sure. If you could please come to the mic and state your name.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Giordano, Madam President. I've been working in Arizona charter schools, supporting Arizona charter schools for the better part of 20 years, supporting some existing schools. It was just over 2 years ago that we started to look into Arizona to see if it was going to be a good fit, if the students were A, in need, and B, where was the need. So it was over 2 years ago we started speaking with local and state community leaders, everybody from the mayors of the towns that we're talking about, specifically Buckeye initially. So we met with the mayors, community development folks, state chamber of commerce, local regional chamber of commerce, local community-based organizations specifically that support our type of students who are highly at risk, and then speaking with parents throughout these 3 communities, and then further going on and speaking with the university. So we've been engaged specifically in Arizona for just over 2 years, working from the grassroots level, including with the association and A4 Arizona. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on, who we've been meeting with and talking with, parents, students, etc. We do have local support. We have folks that would be amazing board members, in addition to Max, who are finance, education, compliance, and leaders of community-based organizations, most of which are very, very excited, however, to put that type of effort in before the charter is granted. We're ready to go as soon as if you're approved. So we are, whether it's the facilities side or the community engagement or increasing our board, what you're going to find is the board is going to be made up almost entirely of folks from the 3 locales, Buckeye, Peoria, and Phoenix. Is essentially not anybody from Michigan or New York, where I'm from, as you can probably tell from my accent. It'll be completely almost intentionally from local community leaders. And I think honestly that's the way it should be, quite honestly, when you, in our view. So when you're a new organization, you're just standing up, it's helpful. Now we've been blessed, right, because we do have the support from, I mean, you probably saw the letter from the economic development team from Buckeye. That was pushed from the mayor of Buckeye. So I think between the parents, the community-based organizations, the organizations that support overage, underaccredited students specifically, we're going to have a very, very strong representation. And we're ready to go right away. So if you say you're approved, we're going to start onboarding, board members and start executing right away.
As a follow-on to President Sensman's question, can you articulate what your experience has been in Arizona? You said you've supported charter schools for a number of years. If you could just briefly talk about that.
Do you mean overall experience is what we're seeing over the last 15 years or more specifically?
In Arizona, your work in Arizona.
Yeah.
Charter schools.
And so what we're seeing is really kind of a bifurcation level of students who are parents, families who are economically at need. So let's just take Buckeye, for example, right? If you go south of I-10, you can see the need is much, much greater than it is north of I-10, like near Verrado, for example. If you look at Peoria, south in Peoria, the need is greater than it is in north. So we're seeing...
I'm sorry, I think I probably didn't state the question correctly. When you introduced yourself as having Arizona experience with charter schools prior to the last 2 years, can you articulate what that experience has been?
Yes, I helped supported schools on their daily operations and community engagement and one particular school has been around for almost 20 years. So specifically it was with regards to community engagement and operational support. The school is a SABIS school, SABIS. It still is on the Beltline.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have some questions about your current board structure. So currently you only have one corporate board member, that's Maxim. Sorry, thank you, okay. And then 3 others for your school governing body members. And so that makes me personally a little nervous, just having one corporate board member. But then it looks like all of these board members don't live in Arizona. Do you plan on moving to Arizona, or am I incorrect? If you could just maybe provide some clarity on that.
Yeah, let me provide a little bit of help with that. I'm Doug McNeil, and I've acted as legal counsel to this group, and we appreciate, I think one of the concerns here is when an out-of-state group comes in to operate in foreign land, making sure they get off the ground properly. And in Michigan, we've helped programs like this come in from 15 different states, so we're keenly aware of not only the compliance issue, but also getting the proper representation. So I think as Mr. Giordano explained, we would like to populate these boards with Arizona residents that share a concern for, first of all, believe in the online program that is going to be offered, share the mission and vision, and that have come highly recommended from local community business and educational leaders. So by the time we open our doors, our goal is to have all of these boards populated by a majority of Arizona residents that meet those criteria.
And that's both the corporate and the school governing.
Correct.
But then, so you want to populate those people, but none of the people currently plan on moving to the great state of Arizona. Is that correct?
None of these people. We're gonna cycle some of these folks off.
We have school leaders that have been pre-identified that are moving to Arizona for the centers. So we've identified a couple high-quality school leaders that have lots of experience running overage, underaccredited, blended learning online schools. So both of them have a keen interest in moving as soon as they can, especially considering they have about 24 inches of snow
Yeah, it's a good time.
on the ground. Yeah.
And they're coming in as the principal leadership, or in what capacity of leadership are they coming as?
So of the centers, you know how we have like blended learning centers, right? That's
Correct.
the way that we help provide additional support to our students. So they would become center directors. So heavily involved in the day-to-day operations of supporting our students, as well as community engagement and peace.
And is that different than a principal? I mean, just to make it
No,
simple,
it's
or is it the same?
Yes, ma'am, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Vice President, it's the same.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot about Peoria, Buckeye, in the kind of West Valley area, but you're statewide, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So is there, I guess, why those areas?
Sure. Sure.
Or being statewide, how anyone can go to your school. So
Right.
I guess help me understand. We've been talking about very specific communities, but you're applying for a statewide online school. So can you kind of maybe explain?
Yes,
that
ma'am.
disconnect?
I think in our view, it's a slower growth model. If we start in a more clustered area, these centers can be mutually supportive. Our teachers, our staff, our center directors can be much, much better mutually supportive. And for a student to get the support, maybe there's not a particular teacher at the center, they want to go to another center. They're only going to be essentially within 5 miles of each other. So the cluster idea is a slower growth start model. Let's get it done well in one area, and then as we grow our footprint based on success, we'll expand out. That's not to say that students can't come online from other areas around the state. We want that, but I think honestly, we have all this experience. We know that if we start in a tighter cluster area, again, it's a new state. Let's master it in one location, provide that support that's needed, and then we can grow and grow and grow out there. But it's about making sure that it's done right the first time, not being spread too thin.
So which community then will you be focusing on? Because Peoria and Buckeye are not 5 miles apart.
Right. So initially, we have a location that's move-in ready right now, just a few blocks south east of the airport on Fillmore.
None of those are in Buckeye or Peoria.
No, that's right. So we have other locations that are, for example, in Buckeye specifically, that's just south of I-10, where there's a higher need area. In those areas are going to take that one area in Buckeye is going to take about 3 months to get ready because it's an existing shell of a facility. So we need to build out the inside. That's going to take about 3 months to do that.
And you guys are not, obviously, you're not an alternative school yet because you can't apply for that status with ADE yet, but you intend to be an alternative?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you're going to bring in folks from Michigan to run your schools or your learning centers. And so everything that I know about alternative schools and chasing kids with deficient credits is a very hands-on job.
It is.
And so
lots of engagement.
Talk me through why I shouldn't be concerned that you don't have anyone with Arizona experience doing that work on the ground.
Sure. Just maybe James can come up and talk about that. But just so you know, it's just the center director. I mean, one of the best practices we know is we bring in somebody who's an expert at this particular model. They're going to be our leadership, our superintendent on the ground. But the teachers are all going to be from our community. So there is going to be a lot of community support because our teachers are all going to be from Arizona. And then eventually we'll groom, because we will expand, we'll groom our local folks to take over and become center directors. So it's really kind of a crawl, walk, run. We know the best practices. We need to have somebody who's a subject matter expert on running the center. So I'll turn it over to James.
He pretty well answered the question for you, but so I'll reiterate a little bit. The only concept, we have a model that we follow that's that can be duplicated, which is really important as we have a statewide emphasis. And so initially we need to bring in a person, no matter what state they live in, that's very familiar with the model. And in our case, that would be a Michigan person. And so we've identified a person to begin the process in a quality way so they can implement the model. But the whole concept that we understand is you have to have personal relationships, and you're going to have really strong personal relationships with people that understand and are neighbors with the very kids that we serve. And of course, those are going to be primarily Arizona resident teachers, and let's use the word parapros. We call them relationship managers. So the Michigan influence is only an initial influence because they understand the model that we're going to be delivering. And one piece that I'll just touch on from a question of why not statewide, we really find that the real secret sauce is with alternative ed students is personal relationships. And if you can engage them and understand them on a personal basis, the success rate grows exponentially. So That is absolutely the reason why we have drop-in centers, and obviously a drop-in center is not that valuable to a person that lives 200 miles away. So we try to keep them in an area of concentration. So, but those will be the only Michigan people that we would bring in.
Mary Ellen, and then Ms. Crockett.
Sorry. So what's your plan? So I guess I'm just a little confused still. What's your plan for recruitment, like boots on the ground recruitment? Because I've been in alternative schools, and let me tell you, we get our kids day 3 of the school year, not June, and they're not registering June and July to come in. We're getting juniors and seniors after they've been, they've made different choices, right, at their current school. So I'm just confused as to, you don't necessarily know your population. It's different, right? Alternative's different. You don't necessarily know where your population is coming from until you've already opened your doors. And so for those centers to be placed, it just sounds like there's a little bit of confusion still. So can you kind of talk to me about what your plan is for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk to you about it. I mean, you're absolutely right. Not only are they coming in like days before, but they're actually coming in well after school open.
Right.
We're still getting students registering now in our centers in Michigan. They're constantly coming in. Right. They're dropping out of other schools, coming into ours, or hopping, right? And so, most of our recruitment is going to be based online and then word of mouth. So a lot of social, Facebook, Google, Snapchat. A lot of the initial marketing and advertising goes through online. And again, we're an online school, so our kids really want to. That's where they're getting most of the information, quite honestly, from anyway. And so initially, it'll be from that. We'll start to look at clusters and see where students are coming from based on our initial marketing online. We're going to see that. And then it's going to be mostly word of mouth. So what we're seeing as the school is up and running, we're going to see a lot more word of mouth, students sharing their stories and parents sharing with each other.
So as far as recruitment, you're kind of looking at casting the net wide and then seeing where things.
We are going to. We are interested in casting the net wide, but we know that from the data, from our interactions with parents and the mayor, the community base, that there's a lot of need in Maricopa County. There's still some places are saturated, but there's a lot of need. When you look at the percentage of students who are not in school or not in work that are our age students, the number is quite staggering. So we're really going to focus our energy looking and trying to recruit those students.
And out of the year one, let's say you get the 200 that you're expecting, how many do you plan on being or showing up to that center?
Well, ideally we'll do one. Oh, it's showing up to the center?
What percentage of students do you plan on showing up to the center?
How much?
A minimum 50% for each center.
Yeah.
That's 100, so 200 total.
Right. So the centers are there to provide extra additional support. It's not the main, classroom area. So we won't see, on an average day, we won't see 50 students in a center. We may see 4 or 5 in a particular center, or 10 or 15 in a particular center.
Well, that's different than 50%.
10%.
Okay, so about 10 students.
Yeah.
So how do you plan on supporting students then with special education, ELL?
Yep. Yeah, we provide, and honestly, most of our students are special education or ELL students or special with needs. That's the bulk of our student population. So we provide that through a number of different ways. Do you want to talk about that, Brooke?
Sure, I've been dying to talk.
Yeah.
All right. No, I'm just I think we've been talking about centers a lot, and so I just want to reiterate, the centers are an important piece of the puzzle, right? But the most important piece is the whole program in itself, and that it can run for kids who do come to the center or kids that don't. And that's part of the whole process, right? So the world's a lot smaller now because we have technology, and that's why we're trying to maximize that and really show online's hard. Anybody that's taken an online class knows that, and you need a ton of support to do that. So if you're not coming to a center, you still need that support at home. And so we're going to use tools like Zoom and Skype, and we're going to make it feel like we're right there in front of them. We may be on a computer, but we're going to build those relationships with them. And I think online has not always done that, and our goal is to make that happen and to do that the very best that we can. We want to see kids' faces all the time, whether they're right here in front of us or they're across the computer computer. And that's how special ed and ELL comes into play, right? So the special ed teacher can meet with them just like they're meeting in a resource room or whatever. They may be in the computer. They may be sitting right next to them in a center. The goal is, though, that every kid has the same awesome academic experience in those relationships, so we can give them not only their special education needs, their academic needs, but their social and emotional needs as well. And those relationships are key. The program that we're using has all sorts of different interventions that you can apply and assign to students as needed. So ELL has supports like readers, translations into their own language, closed caption. So all sorts of different tools to make sure that the ELL students are supported, special education students are supported, and so on. But we're going to follow the letter of the law, but we're going to do it to our very best ability, and we want to be in constant contact with those ancillary services and things like that. Some of those can be done online, some of those can't, so we'll have to travel to them, or they'll have to travel to us. But those, we also know PT, OT, some of those things, we'll have to provide those as well, and there's lots of ways to do that.
Ms. Crockett, do you have a question?
So this is administrative.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking people to move out here and start the centers from Michigan. And then how soon are you going to replace them with Arizonans? What's the timeline for that? Are you asking them to move out here and then move back? Are they moving here temporarily and it's a short timeline, or what's your plan?
Well, for the center directors, correct me if I'm wrong, we want someone who's invested in the community and wants to be here, right? We don't want a short-term person. We want someone who's coming in gung-ho, ready to work with at-risk alternative students in the state of Arizona. And if they're not ready to stay here, then they're probably not the ones. And that's not to say we might find someone here in Arizona too, but we have some identified awesome people that know the model in Michigan, but we want them invested here. We don't want them leaving in 6 months. I mean, the whole point is to make sure we have people who love this community and love the population of students that we're working with. And if that's not their passion, then they're probably not the right person for this job.
I just have one more question. Sorry. So you'd mentioned having a slow growth model. Somebody mentioned. I think. Okay, one of you. One of you mentioned having a slow growth model. But you want to be 800 by year 3, which is maybe a little bit faster than a slow growth model, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So can you maybe? I'm just a little nervous about the enrollment cap that you're requesting.
Well, you want me to show stuff? So,
Sorry.
I've opened over 27 schools in the last 20 years around the country, including helping the one here. And it's the first year that's absolutely critical. Getting the first year right, in my view, that's essential. So, starting with 100 students in each center, essentially, or 200 students statewide for the first year, that is, in our view, a very, very slow growth model. We see others in other applicants that are starting more like 450 students and growing. So in our view, the slow growth really should be essentially in the first year. And then even though we have the capacity to grow larger in years 2 and year 3, it's really going to be based on our assessment of the quality of the organization, what we're providing. So we are asking for those numbers because we want to make sure that we're viable and that we can serve a broader audience. Our view is to serve at-risk students, overage, under-accredited high school students for the entire state. But we're just starting it slower, and I think that's a good thing. I think we want to start with a couple hundred students. And then after we have success, we've learned some lessons, because first year is, we definitely going to, no matter all the experience we have, we're still going to learn. We're going to take those and then ramp it up so it's more effective and more efficient. Okay. So yeah, I mean, 800 can be conceived a lot in year 3, but we're intentionally starting.
Crippling, so there's no slow
You want to go
growth.
ahead?
Yeah.
Right.
One of the best indicators of future success, of course, is past success. We've been working at this model for now about 10 or 15 years, so it's a well thought out model. The schools that we're operating right now, that I'm operating right now, have been in existence between 3 and 3.5 years. That's how long this charter's been in place. Of course, we started with 0 students at that point in time, and right now we're up to 1,600. So what we know is this population is desperate to be served. It's an underserved, it's an under-advocated for, it's an underrepresented population. We want to be able to help in a quality fashion as many individual students as we can possibly happen. But as you know, if you don't get off to a great start and you don't do a absolutely wonderful job, your reputation is tarnished and it's hard to rekindle that. We won't let that happen. What I can also tell you is that this whole model is based on personalization, and we won't let any of our centers or grow too large, because then you lose the personality, the personal contact with the kids. That's the actual hook, and in changing their self-concepts in their lives. So we'd like to be able to grow it as fast as we can possibly grow it, because there's so many kids that need the benefits of this type of program, but not so fast that we would compromise quality instruction for kids.
Sorry, President Senseman. So I am not an education expert, but I do know, having sat on this board for several years or a couple of years, that, you know, online and then online Alta Ed, both, I agree the need is great, but the outcomes always seem somewhat nebulous to me. If somebody could just talk to me briefly about, first, where are these students being served today, and what are their alternatives to your school, first of all? And then secondly, how, as you have to apply to be an alternative education school, how that process will be, and how I, as a board member, can be assured that we're getting the outcomes that we want for this group of students.
Well, I'll start a little bit on that. First of all, these students aren't being served today in many instances. Oftentimes, it's sad to say, the data that follows those students, as far as dropout rates, even academic performance, isn't such. And I was a traditional superintendent for 30 years, so I'm really positive on public schools. But the truth of the matter, it's easy to have a student whose data could negatively impact you walk away and have them served by somebody else. So they're not often served fully. An example of that is in Michigan, we have 2 count dates in Michigan where your average daily attendance. There's a count date in the fall, and if a student's in a seat at that date, then you get credit for that student all year long financially, so you get an FTE. The day after the count date, it's been now about a month, we've enrolled 200 additional students. And that's not surprising, that's the pattern, because the kids aren't necessarily being advocated for the way other students are being advocated for. So that piece is there. And how are we serving them? I mean, we immediately, when they come in, we do an analysis of where that student's at. And that's by doing certain testing that's necessary. And once we've determined where that student is, we don't teach to the middle, we teach to the student, and we develop individual educational plans, which, by the way, is also why special ed works so well in this environment. We develop individual educational plans for each student that targets where they're at, so that we can be specific in trying to advance their education. Now, the real talk on this, and I probably shouldn't say this, I might get in trouble with the rest of the guys, but here's the real talk on this. It's kind of like baseball to a degree. This is a very difficult population to educate. And we have extreme successes, but we also don't hit a home run every time with every student. But it would be kind of like a baseball player. If a baseball player hit 350, he's doing a really, really pretty good job. In our case, we know going in there's going to be a certain percentage of the kids that we do not hit home runs with, but our percentage will be better than by far than most of the districts or schools that we compete with that student. But our goal is to never be satisfied with that factor and find a way to influence positively as many of the students that we serve as possible. And part of that is because our program is based on a concept that it's not a program where we try to accommodate dysfunction. Now, don't worry, I know with special ed we do accommodations, and with students we do accommodations, but our goal upon graduation of every student is that we had an impact in changing their dysfunctional behaviors into functional behaviors that allow them to determine where their future lies, whether it be moving on to college, to trade school, or just the world of work. But just to give them a diploma and send them out with the same dysfunctional behaviors is absolutely not what we're trying to accomplish. So I can look you in the eye and say to you that we really have a model that does it correctly and understands that every kid is an important person, and we treat them individually instead of a group.
Sorry, I just have one more quick question. Is that okay? Did you feel like yours was answered? Okay. What's the capacity of students at each center, each alleged, I mean, I know you haven't picked them yet, but let's say you pick the ones that you want, right? What's the capacity?
As far as how large a center can get, is that what you're asking?
How many students, can be?
Well, part of it's the secret sauce, like I told you, was the fact that we need personal relationships, and that personal relationship is wonderful if it's face-to-face and with parents, but it doesn't need to be. But it still needs to be a personal relationship that takes a lot of time. So we do not like our centers ever to get any larger than about 200 to 250. So let's say that we were in a community and
I'm so sorry, 200 students can show up at once. So you'll have 200
No.
No, so that's what I'm asking. How many students can show up at one time to your center?
If you had under that model, which we wouldn't let any, and we wouldn't, 250, if you had 10% of your students show on an average day, that would be about 25 students per day.
And you plan on having 2 centers for the next 3 years? Does that sound correct?
There's a third, yeah. A third center.
2 centers the first year, and then 2 more centers, and then 5
in year 3
in total. Yes.
Yeah.
And those are that's where you start to look at populations and clusters of kids to make sure that they have that opportunity for the centers.
This may be a little bit too much information, but part of the program is we don't let kids fail. So there are times where if they're located in an area where we can do this, we have tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you're tier 4, you're in jeopardy of dropping out of even our program from inactivity. We call them into the centers. So based on the demographic of the center, it's possible we could have more than 10% in, but they're called in students who can earn their way to more flexible programming if we think they're on track.
What if that student's located in Page?
Is Page a long ways away?
Grand Canyon.
That's why
No, we wouldn't obviously be able to call them in, but we would set up a program where they had to check in at certain intervals, rather.
I'm just sorry that I'm asking these questions. I'm a little nervous about the enrollment cap, so that's kind of why I'm asking these questions, but if nobody else is, we can move on. I just didn't know if anyone else. No? Okay. No. Then we can make a motion.
All right.
If anyone else has
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Nope.
Let's go.
All right. Based upon a review of Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions to establish the Breakthrough Virtual Learning Solutions School to serve grades 9 through 12 using Arizona online instructions with an enrollment cap of 200 in year 1, 500 in year 2, and 800 each year beginning in year 3.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Close. Alexis.
Madam President, do we want to consider not going to 800? And
Well, I think that's what Ms. Lee was asking for before she made the motion.
and I was just pondering it. So,
I think that's what the TRP recommended, and I know they went through a grilling to get there. And so I'm more akin to go with what the TRP recommended on the enrollment cap on this one.
Okay.
Alexis.
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
I'm going to say no, only because not your program. I think your program sounds wonderful, but I don't believe from an operational standpoint that I'm as comfortable as I'd like to be.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
I also am going to vote no, and it's from an operational perspective. I'm very concerned about your board composition. I think saying, hey, we're from Michigan, we're going to come here and recruit people to be on our boards is a big statement, And I think that you should have had that straightened out before you came to the board. I think that you should have had Arizona people at both levels, at the governing body level and at the corporate level. And I also think that they should be disinterested between the two, and I don't believe that your package shows that right now. And for that reason, I have some significant operational concerns. I don't know how you maintain your nonprofit status, and I'm voting no.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
No.
Mr. Twist?
Abstain.
Ms. Yanov?
No.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion does not pass.
Okay. I'm gonna do a second. Do I do a second motion?
Oh, what would your second motion be?
Did I? Or
Oh,
does
no, I
that
think that's already done.
happen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Do we have an opportunity to have a comment or two, or is it over at this point?
I think this is done, and then you can work with Vicky, our attorney, because there is an appealable right to this as well. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next up, Bridge Prep Academy.
Actually, before we continue to Bridge Prep, I do want to let the board know that item 10 and 11 will be removed from the agenda. The applicant for those two agenda items has chosen to withdraw and has officially withdrawn in the system. Okay, item 2. Bridge Prep Academy, Inc. has submitted a new charter application package to open Bridge Prep Academy of Buckeye, serving grades K through 8 in the Buckeye area. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package meets the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle. The applicant also attended a capacity interview conducted by the TRP. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP does not recommend that the revised application package for the applicant be approved due to the lack of local support for Arizona operations and the applicant team's lack of understanding about Arizona state requirements and meeting the needs of the local community.
All right. Is there a representative from Bridge Prep Academy here?
Madam President, I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. Thank you. All right, if you could state your name and tell us about your school.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Louis Nicuzzi. Madam President and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to address you and tell you a little bit about ourselves, our schools, and our plans. My name is Louis Nicuzzi, as I mentioned, and I'm the board chair for Bridge Prep Academy. By profession, I'm an all-state insurance agent for the last 31 years. Throughout those years, I've volunteered in many areas of the educational community, including in ESAC committees, parochial school, financial services boards, and for several public charter schools under the Bridge Prep umbrella. Bridge Prep's journey began 12 years ago with 200 students and a model to serve all students, regardless of socioeconomic or cultural background. We spread our educational passion slowly throughout the state of Florida, growing organically and concentrating in Miami-Dade County, which is the 4th largest school district in the United States. After several years and recognition for our extended second language program, we began to expand our model north in the state and currently serve almost 7,000 students in 8 different counties. We go all the way to the northern tip of Florida in the city of Jacksonville. The majority of our families receive free and reduced meals and consider our schools their second home. As far as our expansion into Arizona, we feel we have the infrastructure, as evidenced by our application that passed in all areas. In addition, our team has diverse experience in the areas of education, student services, business development, and facility acquisition. That will benefit the Buckeye community and parents' right to choose for their child's education. We were honestly surprised that the TRP, after a high scoring and substantially complete application, and having demonstrated our capacity and infrastructure, would make a recommendation for denial. We noted that the recommendation demonstrated a lack of comfort on behalf of the TRP, predominantly in two areas. One was local board representation and management infrastructure, and two, not being based in Arizona. We welcome the opportunity to further clarify these issues to your satisfaction, as we've demonstrated capacity in our application and in over a decade of serving children in public charter schools. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name is Larry Rivero. I'm a former charter school teacher, charter school administrator, and currently I'm Director of Compliance for the Educational Service Provider.
Good morning, everyone. I am Darlene Gonzalez-Katz, and I'm the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction. I have been a teacher, a reading specialist, a reading leader for the state of Florida, for the state of Ohio, and for the state of Washington, D.C. I am a proud employee of Bridge Prep Academy, and we have been successful in implementing our curriculum, not only in Miami-Dade, as stated before, the fourth largest district, but all over the state. So I wish and I hope that Arizona accepts us in implementing our curriculum.
Good morning, Madam President, members of the board. My name is J.C. Quintana. I, too, began my journey. You might not tell what the gray hairs 30 years ago in education. We did start as a teacher, prior school administrator, and my MBA actually took me into the world of business development for charter schools 12 years ago, where we've been able to acquire a portfolio of about $60 million in state funding for Bridge Prep Academy schools and ensure that they comply for the past 10 years of audits, and as well as HR areas, legal compliance, and various state programs and grants that are awarded throughout our schools, and ensuring that the school has the ability to take those on. We'll be more than happy to hopefully address any of the concerns you have.
Excellent. Ms. Lee.
Yeah, so can you just talk about where your leadership is going to be living long term, right? Can you
Right.
take me up through the school structure?
Yes, and it's kind of a hard group to follow, because we ourselves are not locally in Arizona. However, our national surveys and it's stuff that our interview with the TRP was rather quick. It was 45 minutes, I believe. Because the history is there, the records, the successful application, over 95% compliant. In addition to our record, once it took us 12 years to kind of feel that Florida within itself, we had mastered being able to go abroad. And in meeting for the last few years of where else can we service students similar to our demographics, the portfolio that Bridge Prep services is extremely diverse, predominantly communities of low socioeconomic status, students with special needs. But the fact that we are all educators, and in fact something that we take pride on, is not only at the school level, but even at the ESP level, every individual who represents the educational service provider was in a classroom at one point. We're all educators at heart, and I think that's where our success has come. We actually have individuals that are extremely keen and knowledgeable and current administrators of the Bridge Prep brand that were Phoenix, Arizona residents and work currently as a principal in our Jacksonville location. And we also have one of Italian descent, but that lived in the Arizona area as well. That's a principal in our North Miami area. And they're both extremely interested in relocating and being able to be the founding administrators of the school model.
So the highest level that will be in Arizona is your principal. Is that correct?
No.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay,
Sorry,
so,
yeah.
and one of the concerns, and I'm glad we're there, because at the end of the day, we understand your concerns, the fact that maybe the board structure, but we have to go into a realistic expectations. Not sure what the backgrounds are. Many of you are probably either assigned by the governor or so forth, and you're really the same as the boards for the charters. You're here on your own free will of your own time. But when we found ourselves trying to go out through that community, and sharing our interests and our model, because at the end of the day, we needed to ensure people wanted what we wanted, what our survey told, and we did a national survey, and we can share that poll with you all. the area of Buckeye, and even when we met with the mayor, has not only, I would say, immediate concern, but as what's to come and what the trend is showing with the excessive planned growth and the ability of being able to keep up with that growth and be able to service the children of Buckeye. And our model being an extended second language model really was extremely supported, not only by Hispanic communities, Black communities, but predominantly by Anglo. Most of our clients are not Hispanic. Many would think that because we're from Florida or Dade County that is a model that's for them. But what we do is we tailor. Our model is extremely unique and it's not replicated by anyone because it requires a special skill and experience in the extended language model. It is not a dual language model where we teach content in the Spanish language. What we end up doing is actually extending our instructional day and actually teaching language arts in Spanish that correlates directly with the English language arts without taking away from the actual core substance of the core instruction. So when we did all our research and we found that was a model, parental choice, very big comeback from our community research in that area. And the fact that we even shared when we met with parents and in our survey that we were a Florida-based company. And if they knew our history of A, B, and C, would they be in favor of a Florida organization coming in? Because, I mean, we all have to be honest. This is a charter and everybody has the heart to, at the end of the day, service kids. But there's a very, very large component that comes to business when it comes to developing charters. You can have your heart in the right place. You can have the best intentions. But if the business development and the financial capital and the resources needed for operations are not there, you might find yourself in an extremely difficult situation. So we did a lot of legwork. The ultimate goal is to establish the local board like we've done it in Florida. Every county has different boards. It's a little different than how you guys do it here by districts. And all of our counties have local representation, even if they're 500 miles away, 600 miles away. So we have specialized in being able to recruit individuals that would probably represent the model. The most common thing we have found is that the comfort level in our interviews with the Arizona possible members is that being able to have a founding member still be part of it. We're fortunate to have a board chair that is not tied, has come several times, is able to come with his family and spend weeks if necessary here. Even ourselves, our infrastructure is an extremely organization. You only see 4 individuals here, but we have over 1,000 employees throughout the charters. We have over 50 employees throughout the support center that services the state of Florida, all with job descriptions that require travel until we instill those practices locally and like we've done in every other county that we service throughout the state of Florida. So the ultimate goal, as we shared to the TRP, is definitely starting out with a board that has local founding members of the Bridge Prep brand for its fidelity and its brand and its program with Arizonan board members and eventually transitioning into being a full 100% Arizona state board.
So what's your just because you mentioned it, what are your letter grades in Florida for all of your
Okay,
students?
so that is something, so we have grades all the way from A through D. And let me explain something that's very unique about us because there's a lot of publicity out there. If you only go when it comes to charter school by what's on the media, we do have schools that have Ds. And those schools are first-year schools, if not second-year schools. But we service over 2,500 students in those 4 campuses, being that there is a dire need for parental choice beyond what they currently have offered. First-year school, 600 children, all looking for something. Whether it's our model or whether it is a different path than the judgments they've received where they were previously or just because it's of convenience. So we have historically and proven that, for example, our A school was a D school a few years ago. So it is a 3-year plan. We're not here for the instant gratification or to say we have a school. We are aware that our investment that we're going to implement into Arizona is a 3 to 4 year plan.
So let me just clarify because I just wanted to know the actual numbers. So is this correct? You have 4 Ds, 5 Cs, 3 Bs, and only 1 A school.
Exactly, with a percentage of over 90% minorities and 90% free and reduced lunch.
Okay, so out of 14, 9 out of 14 are C's or lower. So I think my concern is if you have all of these things set up. So 9 out of 14 are C's or lower, right? Which is a big chunk. And then you talk about all these things that you're doing in Florida that you can do because you have the numbers. what's to say then? I mean, if I'm you, I'm focusing on my 4 Ds and my 5 Cs because that's kind of a tick on my record,
Right.
not the one school site in Arizona that may open with a D or a C. Or, I mean, hopefully not. That wouldn't be our goal.
Absolutely.
We want to approve a school that's kind of the intention. And so I have major concern for that, especially because it sounds like that once I get to the principal level, nobody's living in the state of Arizona to help the school out.
No, that's what your initial question was before I established the protocol for the board. So there will be board members that are from Arizona who oversee at the end of the day
What
the
will the
principal.
board members' role be? I mean, we have public members on the board. You have, I mean, that they don't necessarily control professional
Day-to-day
development.
operations,
They don't,
right.
right.
But our infrastructure, our infrastructure, and I want to clarify about the judgments with the C and the D, because I do want, if you, when those schools open, if the expectation of a chart, if I handpicked my students like the media and everybody says, and I didn't open my doors to everyone, which was on the executive, I could handpick, have slow growth, and basically be selective on who I bring into my school and present you a much better portfolio.
Well, you couldn't. That'd be illegal in the state of Arizona.
Exactly. No, it'd be legal in the state of Florida, but I hear a lot of, I hear a lot in this industry, and we've been in education for a very long time. Slow growth. There's different mechanisms on how to control that. But at the end of the day, we believe that our model is good for all because we've proven that after the first 2 years, we have yet to have one campus that has had to have been shut down for financial solvency or academic solvency. They have all improved. Those predominantly four schools that are either one or on their second year of operation.
So what? I just want the short answer of who above the principal that manages day-to-day operations will be living in the state of Arizona. I'm not necessarily a public member of a board.
Right.
Who that will manage your school, that will do professional development with teachers.
Right.
Who above the principal will live here in the state of Arizona to focus on the Arizona school while your team is focusing on the 9 out of 14 C or D schools that you have.
Yeah, but the team doesn't only comprise of that. It'd be just like we service currently. Even our A schools still get support. So at the end of the day, that will come organically and that will come with growth. It's unrealistic.
So no one right now is planned to live in the state of Arizona above the principal, minus a couple of board members that could fill a public member.
No, that's not what I said. What I'm saying is that it has to do with the actual enrollment of the school and the revenue of the school. So if our school enrolls 300-400 children, which is what we're projecting, there will definitely be local support beyond the site administration and the school managed by the model and the program that has been implemented throughout the state of
Who will
Florida.
that person be? Someone from the ESP, someone from...
No. In fact, the only, the executive director, there was some confusion, but she's not employed. She's employed by the board. The ESP predominantly oversees compliance, HR, legal, and is the day-to-day organization that reports to the board as a policy-making board. But the support, the entire infrastructure created to support professional development, anything curricular, comes from employees of the board, have nothing to do with the ESP provider.
Okay, so again, who's that person?
But let me ask the question this way.
Yeah.
So if a parent
Mhm.
had a concern
Absolutely.
that needed to escalate above the principal,
Right.
where would the recourse be?
So, well, in our law, which I'm very sure it's very similar in charter statute here in the state of Arizona, there has to be a person that deals with conflict of interest. There has to be that individual, whether it come from a board member that is specifically assigned by the board as that individual, or a local representative, which can be established. Florida law doesn't make it that it has to be, for example, a person above the administration, but it has to be someone that's going to be an advocate for parents and ensure that they're guided through the proper measures to ensure that they meet with the local board if it goes beyond the site administration. Now, it's very easy to expect, and this is where I was going, that as educators or whatever field you're in, the reality is that to go out into without a charter approved yet, and go out there and start, that's not reality. At the end of the day, you can't put the carriage ahead of the horse. Now, what we do have is the proven record to show that we have done it and we are doing it in volume. And we have done it throughout a large state, in addition to probably one of the largest school districts throughout the entire nation. Why not allow that option for your residents?
No, and I understand, getting
Right.
a board and, those sort of
Mhm.
things kind of come when you establish a
Mhm.
school.
Absolutely.
But I guess the question was, I'm a parent.
Mhm.
I don't like the answer I got from my principal. Do I have to go to Florida?
No, absolutely
Or
not.
not physically go,
Oh.
but do I have to talk to someone in Florida to resolve an issue?
And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and I don't know if it'll count against us or not, but I'm having a hard time feeling comfortable with the fact that education has county and state boundaries. I don't really feel it does. And I have nothing to lose or gain from that kind of a statement. That's just me as an educator, as a father of 5 kids, and as a father whose children attend charter schools. I'm having a little bit of a difficult time accepting an approval or denial based on your state statutes and based on your approval process that would exclusively be defined because you're not from Arizona. Especially when you have a proven track record.
At all. I think we're trying to
Okay.
understand what the relationship is, and when a parent has an issue,
Right.
that needs to escalate.
Absolutely.
Right? Because in Arizona, our charters escalate up to
The state board.
No, we don't deal with those issues.
Okay.
That's at the charter
Yeah.
level. And so
Right.
what I think we're all trying to grapple with
Right.
is if a parent has an issue, what is that recourse? What does that look like? And so is that going to have to boil up to the ESP that's located in Florida? And we're just, I think it's a pretty simple answer.
Yeah,
It's a
so
yes or no,
at the end of the
or-
day, that is part of the process. However, it all depends on the level of escalation. We've had students, bring a weapon that might require expulsion. We've had students, parents that are completely unrealistic at their expectation and completely against code of student conduct. So it really depends on the severity. Most of the matters can be taken just through simple communication. At the end of the day, the parents just want someone to listen to them and mediate in between. When we do provide support at the ESP level, the board's criteria with us is that we mediate. We are in no way, shape, or form taking sides because the principal reports to the board.
ESP, then.
The ESP will be the initial. Depending on where that escalates, it would require, like we do right now, we might have a board representative out of Palm Beach that needs to take care of a matter in Jacksonville. And they do take the time to be able to do that. But remember, the board as a policy and by law, as a nonprofit, cannot make decisions on an individual basis. They have to be within a setting similar to this. That doesn't mean that they're not allowed to kind of take in and try to mediate. If it does require it to go and beyond that, then there's special sessions that take place. The goal is to have the board meetings locally represented here when they do occur, and the parent would have that outlet.
So, follow up on that. So, in Arizona, charters are under the open meeting law.
Right.
So when you have a meeting, so would they have to Skype in to your meeting in Florida?
I don't think it's any
in order
different. I think you have one of your members that's Skyping, that's the majority, you have to have quorum present live. The same way I'm sure you guys probably hold that. And then if there are members that need to, Skype in beyond the quorum, they may.
So a parent it will never see you then? Is that what we're
No, I
getting
said
at?
the board meeting has to have local representation and quorum live where the meeting is taking place. However, once you have that quorum, you can have other members Skype, as I'm sure you all handle as well. But the same way you are all locally here, that is what the parent will encounter.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Mason.
You asked, why does education have to have state boundaries or district boundaries? And I think the answer is because education is funded with local dollars, and those local dollars need to be held locally accountable.
Right.
Okay. And so my first question to you is, in your initial board that you're coming forward with, is there a single board member that sits on this initial board that is not employed by the service provider or the new corporation?
100% of them are not allowed to be employed.
So none of them are employed. So they're all sitting on the board.
Same way.
Disinterested directors.
100%. That's part of Florida law. It's in statute.
Okay.
There is no employer, and there has to be.
How about locally? This initial.
It would have to be this.
You have one board member, right, for your establishment of the corporation, or not?
No, we have a full board.
the full-
Absolutely.
When I was reading through your full board in the packet, it looked like every single person there was employed by either the service provider or the new school. Is that incorrect?
Yes, completely.
It's just the educational experience that they
No,
have.
completely incorrect. 100%.
Okay. So the way I was reading it looked like everybody had educational experience, that they were in the classroom or administrators, but they're not doing.
Not on the
they're not
board.
providing those services for your schools.
No. Yeah.
You might be looking at authorized representatives versus the charter principals. So there's 4 charter principals. Mr. Nacuzzi is the board chair. He's employed. He owns his own Allstate business. You have Yanir Rodriguez-Padron. She is a teacher in Miami-Dade County. Not of the charter. She works in the public school system. Lulo Franco is an Edward Jones financial advisor. And Ronald Marcello is a principal of one of the Bridge Prep Academy campuses in Broward County. The other individuals on the application were all authorized representatives. When we went through the process, we were told to be able to speak at the TRP panel since the application was done with a group of individuals. To be able to speak there, those individuals had to be cleared as either a charter principal or an authorized representative. We couldn't bring anybody from outside, so that's why you'll see Ms. Katz actually works for Bridge Prep Academy and the board. I'm listed as an authorized representative. I work for the ESP. Mr. Quintana is listed as authorized representative. He works for the ESP. So that might be where your confusion is looking at, because there are a bunch of individuals that are listed.
Okay.
But none of the 4 charter principals are employed by the ESP. And it's the same, and if you look at any of our board members in the state of Florida, not one of them is employed by the ESP.
Okay, and so how you mentioned when you went out and tried to find potential board members or, community outreach, you had a hard time.
No, I don't think we had a hard
You
time.
probably heard my explanation of my vote on the
100%.
last charter.
Absolutely. Which I respect, by the way. There's nothing, I just, I wanted to also put our.
How am I supposed to find assurance here that the state of Arizona and me as a local taxpayer that my dollars are going to be well spent on a local school when there's not a single Arizonan on the board?
Of the founding board.
Right.
Go ahead.
In the actual application, we do address that. We addressed it at the ESP. We have an organization that's coming from out of state, so it's a founding membership. It's not like we are just a brand new startup that doesn't have an existence. So there is a little bit of a difference when you're moving somewhere else to establish a school that's already established somewhere. There's always founding board members. So when we explain that also to the TRP, which we were surprised that wasn't included in their overview. We did explain there is a founding board. Our goal is to transition from the founding board to a local representation. When you have a model that's already established, it's hard to just get individuals that are not versed in that model to just open up a school along those lines. So our goal anywhere we've opened is always to have a founding board and then to transition with local representation, a lot of times with a local founding board member there to keep the fidelity of the program of what we're trying to implement in every school. Because our goal is if we have a school, whether it be in this district in Florida or this state in Arizona, everything is run aligned. That's one thing that we really believe in. So you're not going to one Bridge Prep that does things this way differently. This one does something along those lines. That's where those founding board members are there to keep that fidelity there with the local representation, because there are some local things that work in some places that don't in others.
Are you, and let me just put this on the table. I mean, we're having a casual conversation. Are you comfortable in having a statement stating that within the year we would have, whether it's on our contract, that we would have local representation on the board? Is that something that would bring ease to you? Because that's a quick solution, because that's what we're going to do.
Where I'm at,
and if not, you don't have to allow or approve the contract. I have no problems because we do it. There's counties in Florida that require you to put that. And we do that. We would never think of managing or operating a school, without having any kind of local presence. The thing is, we're in the initial stages. We've done our due diligence, and it's not that we're having a hard time finding board members. We're having a challenge because this is not a startup with 4 people that were passionate and are bringing an application to. This is existing, and it's a monster. It's a big operation. It's a very big operation. Like I said, a $60 million operation. They want to have some comfort. They're not, going to be, and that comes upon here. We're approved now. We've been in front of the board state of education. We already have the location. These are the members that are going to be sitting with you until we transition to a full local board. That's all. We do that now.
So here's just where I'm at. At this moment, 64% of your portfolio are C or D schools, and I do believe that you had one D school that was 3 years.
It's actually being placed into an alternative ed model now. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so out of your huge portfolio, 7% of your portfolio will be Arizona portfolio. I am also concerned as a taxpayer of Arizona that when 7% of your portfolio, when you have 64% of your portfolio is C or D schools, I want 100% of your time and attention into an Arizona state school.
So you want the Florida dollars supporting the Arizona school? Is that what you're saying? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I think you know that.
No, I know, but I'm trying to say, of course, we will put in the capital that is being allocated through the Arizona school.
Right, 7% of your capital.
No,
I mean, right? Like that's how much it, that's
100% of our Arizona
Talking about your
capital.
total portfolio,
No,
right?
but
And when you
it's-
have people living in Florida,
Mhm.
then of course, I mean, that's where I'm at. So
The flight's no different than a drive from Miami to Orlando.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Madam President?
Mr. Swanson.
Do you operate any schools outside of Florida?
No, all our schools currently are out of Florida.
And there was a note in the TRP report that said that you stated, which I'd like your response, that the reason you chose Arizona was for economic reasons, not for community reasons. So it says that in the report, in the summary, so if you could just
No,
address
that was a
please.
complete misunderstanding on their part. So what we did share is that the area that we have specifically gone into, especially with the research and the surveys that we have done, show that there may be a challenge in being able to grow and develop the schools at the pace that the Buckeye community is going to be growing. Now, I really didn't relate, and if they want to elaborate what exactly they meant, because that was a complete stump for me. I really had no idea what they meant for that, because that wasn't even part of, maybe it might have been a play on words, but in no way, why would an organization go into an entity so far away without having done their due diligence of their model and then coming in to fail? That's not an option whatsoever. Now, what is the reality is when you do have large organizations coming in to a certain level that are able to sustain a slow growth if needed, and that is in the best interest of the children, because then you could end up having someone you approved, which I'm sure you're dealing with this locally right now, that had a much lower scoring than us, but they were locals. They have come several times, and all of a sudden they're in a situation where they can't sustain the ability of servicing the children because of financial or capacity situations. That's not, and when I read your statute, it gives the bias to the board for approval and so forth, but it talks about application capacity and operational capacity, and we have both.
Madam Chair, one other item I wanted to follow up, speaking to your operational capacity, is I did a little Googling, and it looked like you guys had a hazmat issue at your Miami school in August. Can you go into that a little bit?
So what you saw was the initial communication of a brand new structure that a child was vomiting and had to go, a school of 1,000 children, one child in the school. Rescue comes and tells us, listen, we don't find anything, but as a precaution, we like to clear the building and double check since it's a new construction.
Okay.
And that's all it was.
All right, thank you.
That's why, if you can double check, was there anything after that initial interview?
Yeah, no, I
There was
believe
nothing.
you. I just needed to
But
ask.
that's the news. That's the, at the end of the day, I thought it was actually a good thing, because it actually put the school and in the limelight of having one child out of 1,000, pass. But we had to take the local authorities' guidance and have the schools the students evacuate.
Madam President, if I may, I'm trying to, trying to be really fully cognizant of what you're trying to do and
Absolutely.
what you're doing in Florida, what you want to do here in Arizona. And I'm just trying to think if you had been an Arizona-based charter coming before us to expand your charter, and I don't know a ton about your schools, but with the A's and B's and C's and D's, my thinking would be you have more work to do before you would come back to this charter to ask to expand, because I would say you're not there yet. And I know you said your D's are newer schools and so forth, but I mean, there's a lot of focus and attention that you need to put on those schools in order to keep those viable as well, right? So that's just kind of where I'm just trying to, look at this the way that we would be looking at it if you're in Arizona school. So just a comment.
No, and I respect that, and I respect that. There's no way that I can say you would not be making a conscious or having a conscious concern. And I can sit here, but I mean, and share with you guys, look at the history of the ones that are succeeding, because the majority of those schools did come within a couple of years. However, when I look at the Buckeye area and those districts, there are no A's, there 0 A's in your community right now. You have no F's, but the majority of your schools are C's and D's. So I don't know if it's really, much different than what we'd be able to service, but yet we've been able to prove, and I wish we were later and where the next phase of grades were going to be coming out and would show our growth and our development. And I would agree with the amendment, the young lady that was here on her amendment. There is she needs those kids for 2 years, or 3 years. We need them the same. We have kids that come from 40 different schools. We open our doors to them because that is what the intent of the charter law is. And then we have to build them. You cannot expect that we're going to wave a magic wand with kids that are 2-3 grade levels below grade level and just say, we're going to convert you to a high-performing child within a year. That's not reality. And we are honest enough to face that and take on that hurdle where very few charter organizations would do it. And that is where we're different. Many organizations will be selective and run away from areas like that. We don't. We put in new schools in those communities. We take in all these children into our community, and we make a difference, and we improve them as the A, B, and C schools were once D schools as well.
And with all due respect, we see that all the time with charter operators that are doing the exact same thing here in Arizona. So I don't want to take anything away from them. So that
100%. I mean, it's part of the trend. You open your doors, and everybody's coming in, you know, from different systems. It's not like you're only starting them in kindergarten per se. In our model, at least.
All right. Is there any other questions? All right. Is there a motion?
Yeah. Based upon a review of Bridge Prep Academy's Inc. portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to reject the application package and deny Bridge Prep Academy Inc.'s request for a charter for the reason that academic performance data demonstrates low academic performance of the ESP's currently operating schools.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rice. Alexis?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist? Sorry. Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for your time.
Vicki Bergen is our attorney. Who you probably want to.
I can't. I'm not authorized. Council has to communicate with. So, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next up, core item 3. All right, Rachel.
Sorry, I'm trying to hold on to my voice. Core Academy of Excellence, Inc. has submitted a new charter application package to open Core Academy of Excellence, serving grades 9 through 12 in Marana. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package does not meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle, because the applicant's education plan scored 64.33%, the operational plan scored 92.86%, and the business plan scored 94.55%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the scores obtained by the application and the additional information provided at the capacity interview, the TRP does not recommend that the revised application package be approved because the proposed school leader demonstrated a lack of experience in the classical education model in high school. Additionally, the applicant did not provide an academic systems plan that could be monitored and evaluated by board staff should the charter be approved.
Madam Chair, Ms. Sensheim, the board, thank you very much for the opportunity. This is my 6th appearance in front of you all. Prior to this, I was the CEO and founder of Lehman Academy of Excellence, a charter school which is K-8. I left there last year. The project that we're talking about is 19 acres, and we're looking at doing a classical high school. And we have met with the town of Marana. We've gone through all the different mayors and councils. Originally, interestingly, when I met the mayor, good friend, he said, well, he was against our K-8 model because he says we have good schools here. And now they're bringing economic development folks through to see that we good schools help businesses to move in. So we're proposing a school with an AP track, an intervention track for scholars at both ends of the spectrum. We have 2 Lehman K-8 schools and 1 legacy school in our trade zone that are graduating 125 8th graders every year. We are in a charter island for high schools. There is nothing near us for a good 12, 13 miles. In fact, Basis or Valley would be the closest, and that's a fairly small 100 or so enrollment with kids. Dr. Dan Ranieri, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, he's our board chair, talked to me about this program last year, got me in kind of late, and with the help of the Charter Association, we decided to pull the application and come back this year. And the reason was that he didn't quite have the right team together, and that's why he asked me to step forward. So with me today is Paul DeWert. Paul is a retired Amphi theater public teacher for 8 years, 20 years in administration. He was the principal of CDO High School, which is in our trade area, before he retired. And to my right is David Town. And David was a 10-year teacher at Fleming Wells High School. He was a Teacher of the Year for Arizona in 1999. went over to run Push Ridge Classical High School, understood that classical model, and he joined me at Lehman until he leaves in May to become part of our next project. But David brings to expertise principal and classical ed. Paul brings expertise in the public sector arena. At Lehman Academy, and I've been in front of you a number of times for extensions and online charters and all kinds of different things, we, as far as I can tell, are the fastest growing charter in Arizona history. We opened up in 2015. We have a total right now of 7 campuses, number 7 under construction, about 4,000 or so children, including our pre-K program.
So can I just ask you, so is this a Lehman
It's not.
application?
No. So I'm just telling you background and history of how I got here. While I was in that position, the number one thing I would get asked for by parents starting in about 3rd, 4th grade is, when are you going to do high school? And the Lehman Group decided to stay in a K-8 model. And we knew there was a demand, and we knew our families were there. And as the leader, I decided to step up and say, let's make this happen. I served 13 years on a private high school board in Tucson. It's a college prep. And then I have 2 years on Pima Prevention Partnership, which is an Arizona alternative high school. And their board has been reconstituted, new financial background has come in, and I've been asked to come in and work on the operations and the academic systems and those kind of things. So I'm in that community. I'm an active member of the Charter Association, go to the days of the legislature, local lunches in Tucson, so very involved in the charter world. There's 3 things I want to talk about that I learned or that I'm most proud of at my prior position. Number 1 is Sierra Vista. Sierra Vista this year, the ratings just came out, we are a B school. When we went into that market, we had 225 children. When I left as a B school, we had about 800 scholars, bought the building from our finances, expanded it up, added a gym, and we are the largest school in that market right now. Number 2, just went through a bond offering, and when I left, we had 90% teacher retention rate. So we are growing super fast, adding a lot of staff, hitting it academically, and we're retaining our teachers. And that is 100% due to David's work in training, keeping, and retaining teachers. Number 3, the issue is we're 9 to 10% of our special ed population, so we're doing that as well, right? There's some issues in the TRP review, and I thought I would address those. One of them being Mr. DeWort's background in classical education, and Mr. Town follows that up and kind of completes that circle. And that wasn't mentioned in the TRP review, even though we kind of went through it quite a bit. David is a national speaker on classical education, and we have a demonstrated background with Lehman of hiring a lot of teachers and retaining a lot of teachers. Just like Montessori or project-based learning, there are just not a lot of those teachers out there. So it's our job as leaders and as school models to take what's in the marketplace and train them up to become part of what we do. Number 2, the academic system plan. As hard as we tried through the writing process and the interview process, the academic system plan that is critiqued is the one we are using and have perfected over 5 years. So right now I have a team of 5 people building curriculum ready for high school. We have the NWA MAP program. We developed a teacher training program called LODI. And David, maybe you can explain that real quick, how that works.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you for listening to us. I have a heart of a teacher. I've been a teacher for a long time. But one of my desires, and I wasn't classically educated, so when you're bragging about me, I was not. Up until about 2001 when I went and led a school, I learned what classical education, which is really just good teaching so much, but it also is a chance to really get kids to think and get teachers to think and get principals. So that's part of my job. But LODI is a tool that we use when we go into the classroom to observe teachers. We have a program where we're giving them feedback on what is good teaching, good effective teaching strategies along with that classical model. So that LODI is scored, and we're able to give the teacher and the administration feedback, and we're in this together because our desire is to grow as teachers and leaders. And so it really is a good program where we have a common language of what good teaching is and what classical education is. And so one of our jobs that we've done is we've been able to really educate over 400 teachers over the last 4 years to be able to understand what classical education is, how to question, how to get kids engaged, and so on. And this LODI actually reiterates what we're trying to do. So it's really a great system.
And that's on top of NWA MAP for data assessment. So we tried so hard to communicate that correctly. For some reason we missed, and that's on me and on us for not communicating that. But it's not a piece of paper that we're writing. It's actually the system that we've perfected and built, and it's working. I am 6 years in education. Prior to that, I came from the business community. So a lot of my work has been on systems and operations, and I look for good quality folks that are from the teaching world to work their magic. My job is to stay out of their way. So that's a basic rundown of our application.
Board members, questions? I guess I would like to understand more, what I understand in your ASP, there's a possible 20 points and you guys scored 2. And so, recommendation coming out is that we don't know how to go in and review your school as part of the metrics of a new charter operator. And so did you attend any of the board application trainings or utilize other things? Because this is, by far one of the lowest scores academically I've ever seen on an application. And it's very troubling to me that our staff wouldn't have the tools necessary to look at your school and to get feedback on if you're administering your charter, if we were to grant one.
Sure.
And obviously you said you've been working on this for 5 years, but that doesn't really gel with a score of this,
correct.
I guess of this depth.
Yes. So, and then of course we get reviews after one shot to come back and attempt it, and it's very clear what they're looking for, and we think we're addressing it. And then we had the interview process, which we thought we'd address it even further. So clearly, I'm not communicating something to those 3 panel members. Happy to work with staff or figure out what that looks like. But the reality is there's a number of data points collected. We set up a subcommittee made up of Paul and then the leadership from the school. I sit on that subcommittee as a report to the governing board. And we go through this model every quarter looking at these data points from teacher observations to standardized testing and come back and work around to make sure we're doing it right. That tailors our, like for instance, when I started with Lehman Academy, the charter board and the association was recommending Galileo as an assessment model. First year out, second year out, didn't predict our end of year testing. Talked to other charters in the market, we left Galileo, went to NWA MAP. So I'm in the day-to-day operation making these decisions and changes with our team. And I thought we communicated that correctly through the academic system plan, but for some reason we were not crossing right. We have demonstrated acts. We have done this. This is not a theory. This is what we do on our campuses. And when you look to a market like Sierra Vista, which is transient from military, low economic socio, and pulling a B off in that market, it's not easy.
But you said you weren't associated with Lehman.
No,
correct.
But I built that system before I
That was
left.
some of the confusion too of not being associated with Lehman, but continuing to come back to that as the track record.
Which is what we are. 2 of the 3 of us up here that run these were part
So
of
Lehman will be the ESP for that?
No, we're not having an ESP in this one.
So
this is all.
I guess I'm just trying to understand. I know that you've worked with Lehman before, but you're telling me that Lehman has no connection to this application, but yet you're using that as why we should. I guess I'm just having trouble connecting.
Right.
Like what you're talking about to what your ASP said to what you're saying today. And everything that I see here is that, I think it would make it incredibly difficult for board staff to implement their metrics as part of a new charter application. And I guess I'm still not, I don't have a comfort level with where your academics are or what you would be, I guess, how staff would even implement a program to look at you. And obviously academics is things of, I think, the most importance to this board.
Sure.
Certainly is to me, speaking for myself. And so to not be able to measure that is incredibly troubling with this application, and to be one of the lowest scores on that I've ever seen that still come before the board is deeply troubling to me.
What I'm trying to appeal to you is the team that has been assembled has done this before. And we've done it in our own backyard. We're from that area. High schools are complex monsters to run, and that would be not something I'd be sitting here out of the gate with. But with the team assembled, the background we have, and the experience rating we have, I would make the argument that for some reason we didn't communicate it correctly in the application process. We thought we were the whole process. We didn't.
But I believe staff, didn't they give you, or the TRP give you a number of, we need answers to these questions, or and I know that that I have seen what staff has given. I haven't seen your application.
Extremely detailed.
But
They
I
gave
know
me-
that they give an extremely
They did,
detailed
yes.
of everything that I've ever seen come from them. And so it's I don't know how to reconcile knowing what I believe that you received from them and then your application not reflecting what was very kind of myopically detailed that you needed to answer.
Totally understand. The application we wrote in 2014 for Lehman Academy would not have made it through the current process. It's gotten much trickier and much harder and much more detailed, which it should be. And I think the argument we put forward, the plan we put forward, and the details, for some reason we weren't communicating and connecting with that three-panel group. And that's why we're sitting in front of you today to say it's important, right? It's part of your process. But look at the panel and the group that we've assembled that have done this. It's our backyard. We've done it before. We uniquely know the demand in our marketplace. These kids are looking for a home for high school. Not everybody can afford a private school education, which is kind of what we provide. We have a charter island around high schools. There's a 12, 13-mile radius where there are no choice in our region. Dr. Ranieri sees that. He put this together, and that's the conversation we'd like to appeal to you. Even though your process we didn't score quickly, look behind the scenes at all the steps and the depth of the folks we have put at the table.
And I do have compassion for the area that you're trying to serve and the distance between other quality options. But again, I just fall back to if we don't know how to score you, and staff doesn't know how to do that as part of that new charter process, then that's the hurdle I can't get over on this application.
How about a stepping stone where we have a reduced enrollment in a 2 or 3 year window, work with staff to prove our model over the first 2-3 years, to then look to go forward and continue in different grades?
At this point, with the score of 64, I'm not there on that.
As a layperson and reading through the TRP work, I mean, and I understand what you're trying to convey, that there had been some sort of communication gap, but it's massive. I mean, to have 2 points, and there's, line item of things that you're supposed to address and technical comments on each of them, and I can't. It's a chasm too far to me to get over. So, I'd like to make a motion.
So we have an opportunity with the land and the opportunity for this that I don't know if we can get back. So it's important to my region. That's why I'm here with you today. I have families that are asking me to do high school. So we did our best, and it's been a 2-year process.
Appreciate that.
Based upon a review of Core Academic of Excellence Inc.'s portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to reject the application package and deny Core Academy of Excellence Inc.'s request for a charter for the reason that the applicant did not submit an educational plan that meets the board's criteria, specifically due to its failure to provide an academic systems plan that provides a framework for accountability and implementation of academic systems.
Second.
Alexis?
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist?
Aye.
Aye.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Rachel, Copper State.
Copper State Academy has submitted a new charter application package to open Copper State Academy, serving grades 9 through 12 in Phoenix. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package does not meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle because the applicant's business plan scored 86.79%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP does not recommend that the revised application package be approved because the applicant was not able to express how planned academic requirements would result in improved student outcomes. Additionally, the TRP had concerns about the lack of charter school leadership experience of the applicant team and its ability to oversee and manage operations and business needs for a new school.
All right. Hi, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. First off, my name is Pamela Holden, and I would like to introduce the Copper State team. This is Ann Ferrioli. She is a founding member, and she will be the chair of student opportunities. Sorry, I'm nervous. This is Mark Holden. He is a founding member and director of business and operations. And then we have our board members, board of directors who will make up the community, represent the community. We have Dana Silva, Kristen Ron, Russell Lambert, and Dave Paul. And first off, I would like to make an opening statement. In order for our, no, I'm sorry.
I'll give her a break for a second here. So I'm the chair of student opportunities. The students that Copper State will serve are significantly from a low social economic status and minority backgrounds between Northern Avenue and Van Buren Street, and from Central Avenue to 40th Street. 60% of our projected student population qualifies for free and reduced lunch, and the remaining 40% are considered non-at-risk. Our students are interested in gaining the skills necessary to pursue post-secondary business and or workplace opportunities. According to Gallup Hope Index, 55% of 5th and 8th grade students want to start a new business. However, the high schools within our target population boundaries do not specifically address this need. The research and interviews we have conducted indicate a real need for a small neighborhood high school that prepares students for entry-level positions, post-secondary education, and the ability to pursue business opportunities. Copper State promotes a culture of high expectations through the Copper State success expectations, which are as follows: knowledge expectations, collaboration expectations, and workplace expectations. In order to meet these success expectations, our students will experience learning opportunities through a college prep core curriculum and specialized business and design electives. By meeting the success expectations, students will gain the entrepreneurial know-how and confidence to create the opportunities to make their lives better and other people's lives better, and to provide local businesses with entry-level employees with effective workplace skills. As chair of student opportunities, I am responsible for providing opportunities for students to see the relevancy of their academic learning by bringing the real world into the classroom and connecting them to the local community. I will facilitate student recruitment, student schedules, education and career action plans, college preparedness opportunities, workplace experiences, developing community relations, and PTSO coordination. I will network with charter schools within our boundaries in order to ensure that I will successfully oversee and facilitate these opportunities. As chair of student opportunities, I look forward to promoting and developing the natural abilities and talents of our students. First, the ECAP program will prepare students by giving future guidance towards post-secondary and career choices by providing periodic self-reflection and goal setting. Second, I look forward to partnering with the community and local small businesses and to bring the real world into the classroom and to see the endless possibilities for their future. Thank you for your time and efforts towards evaluating our charter application. We welcome your questions and appreciate your feedback.
In order for our students to meet their success expectations, Copper State will provide a college prep core curriculum along with specialized business and design electives. This curriculum will be delivered through the explicit instructional method, which allows an effective learning process for students to reflect on concepts, evaluate skills, critique a process, or create a product, as well as teachers' ability to make real-time assessments and provide timely feedback. Because we live in the community and teach within Creighton School District, we have first-hand experience with our target population. We are teaching our future students. Current AZ Merit scores for our target population indicate most students score below proficiency. However, Arizona AZ Merit and benchmark results show that these same students demonstrate growth. In order to continue this upward trend of growth, we feel that our success expectations delivered through a core college prep curriculum and specialized electives and monitored through explicit instruction, the ECAP process and the trimester schedule best meets our target population's need for scaffolding, differentiation, and timely interventions. As director of Copper State Academy, I will ensure that our teaching and learning environment of success expectations is consistent with Copper State's mission, educational philosophy, and program of instruction through regular progress monitoring of the various aspects of instructional delivery, professional development, and student achievement, as well as collaborating with the Director of Business and Operations, the Chair of Student Opportunities, and the Board of Directors. Being the director of Copper State Academy, I most look forward to creating the school culture based on the success expectations. Students will have learning opportunities that are connected to the real world. They will gain confidence in facing life choices as a post-secondary student, consumer, employee, or business owner. I also look forward to providing opportunities for teachers to develop professionally and have positive conversations centered around teaching and learning. And so long as we stay true to our mission and success expectations, we will make Copper State Academy a thriving community.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for your time. In order for our students to meet their success expectations, Copper State will provide technology, curriculum resources, extracurricular resources, and a safe learning environment and facility. As Director of Business and Operations, I will ensure that public funds are appropriately and relevantly managed by working with the Board of Directors, maintaining transparent financial management, by collaborating with the business consultant and contracted services, as well as managing the various aspects of human resources. Copper State has identified a facility at 17th Street and Indian School, which is ideal for a neighborhood school, networking with local businesses, communities, and is close to public transportation. The facility has adequate space for growth at a cost that allows for allocation of funds for curriculum technology and classroom space, as well as accommodating for our ideal class size ratio of 1 to 25. Copper State will implement an 18-month startup timeframe to carry out an extensive marketing recruitment plan to meet our target population, as well as prepare the facility and the Copper State educational model for August 2nd, 2021 opening. Copper State has a support system to ensure we stay true to our mission. Copper State has recruited board of director members that are experienced in the areas of financial management, business operations, instructional leadership to provide expert guidance. Copper State will also retain an attorney and business consultant specializing in charter operations. Thank you for your time and efforts towards evaluating Copper State's charter application. Again, we welcome your questions and are very appreciative of your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have our governing board members make a short statement.
Please.
Hi, thank you for having me. Right now I am currently a public school educator for the Cartwright School District, so I work in a community very similar. My school is 100% free and reduced lunch, so I'll definitely know where their community is coming from. I'm a 14-year teacher, so I've been in the state a long time, so I feel like I really know our community. I'm nationally board certified, so I have a passion for student growth. So I feel like I can really lend a hand. I know the standards. I have a wealth of knowledge for state testing. I'm also a Kagan trainer, so I'm really passionate about cooperative learning and building and growing a community. So I feel like I just have a lot to offer them, and I think they're going to have a great school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kristen Runn. I have over 32 years of experience in finance, primarily mortgage finance. But with that, I am required to obtain licensing and be regulated by Department of Federal institutions, financial institutions, and CFPB as well, right? So we're heavily regulated as far as that goes. Personally and professionally, that means that I'm held to a higher standard, ethically and with regards to financial accountability. That just goes in just to maintaining my licensure, right? I believe in Copper State Academy. I plan to contribute solid input with regards to the curriculum, progress, academic achievement. I feel like many of our young adults leave high school without, any financial literacy or real life experience. And I experience that every day. I see it, and so I believe it's a really important skill set to have when you leave and you go out into the world. You actually have to function, right, and do these things on a regular basis. But at any rate, I plan to be an asset to the school in managing overall financials. I have been responsible for year-end company CPA audits with the DFI, additionally aiding in securing any real estate, whether it be owned or leased, and mostly projecting financial sustainability for the school. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Russell Lambert. I am a 20-year resident of the city of Phoenix. I have 2 children that graduated from the public school system here. I'm very familiar with the community. I currently serve as a vice president, senior manager at Bank of the West, focused on operations management. Prior to that, I worked 16 years at Intel as an information technology manager. My contribution to the board will be business acumen. I bring a lot of expertise in goal setting and achieving results, operations and procedures, continuous improvement, collaborative problem solving. I hope to work collaboratively with the other board members as well as operations manager here to ensure that the startup and the continuing operation of the school is efficient and delivers outstanding students to the community. I firmly believe in the mission of this school. I think they are meeting a need that does not currently exist, and I want to be a part of this school. And it is my intention to work as best I can to deliver the next generation of entrepreneurs here in the state of Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is David Paul. I've been in Arizona since 1997, and I've been in the accounting field for the past 20 years or so. Like Russell, my contribution will also be for business acumen. I manage the accounts payable department for Albertsons Companies. Been doing that for 10 years, so I have a lot of experience as to what the business world needs for people coming into it. So I hope to advise Mark and Pam on those aspects. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that concludes our opening statements. We'd like to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you. I want to ask you, so you were before us last year.
Yes, we were.
Correct?
Yes.
And I believe, and you can jog my memory, that we were concerned about your education plan.
Yeah.
Which
was curriculum
based. And so
yes.
you scored a 96 with us
yes.
on this go around.
Yes.
And we were also concerned, I think, that you didn't have community members, and you just
yes.
had 4 of them. Here
all
today.
local,
all local, here to speak with us. And I know that the score on your business plan was not as great, but what I heard,
mm-hmm.
spoken today was you've got the accounting and the business, and mm-hmm. The acumen there, and so I don't know, board members, if you all have questions, but I want to believe that we could have teachers that can come before this board and can start a school, and that we don't become so corporate that individuals such as yourself are blocked out of these opportunities. And I know some of the original operators that I've spoken to have said that if they had to go through this process today, would probably not be successful. And that makes me sad, that I think the heart of the movement is teachers with high accountability, and knowing, the community that you want to go into and the experience that you have with it, gives me some comfort level that you know what you're walking into. And so, board members, I know you guys probably have questions as well, but even though this was denied by the TRP, I would like us to seriously consider approving this one. So I don't know if other folks have questions that they'd like to ask.
Yeah. Madam President, thank you. How many years high school experience, or like Pan American Charter School, is that a high school?
Yeah, it's a K through 12 school, and I taught 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade.
And then for the other corporate board members?
Middle school, 4 years middle school.
Okay.
And for myself was 7 through 12 and AP college as well.
So I just have a little bit of concern, specifically just in that position of only having experience in middle school and then coming and really trying to lead the way with what seems like an ECAP program, which really isn't an intervention program. It really is kind of more of a monitoring program. We've taken a lot of students through ECAP, and I've never seen such an emphasis placed on that process. And so I have real concern with that as far as your academic model. But then it's your job essentially, if I'm, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to kind of, charter schools have lots of different positions and lots of different titles, so I'm going to simplify it a little bit, so I apologize, but I believe you're essentially similar to what an academic advisor would be for a high school. Is that fair? Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry. And so my fear is that you have junior high experience, and then for high school students, the academic advisor role is so essential, and I've never seen it driven by ECAP before, and I just think in this day and age, that's one of the key roles on a high school campus. And so to bring somebody in not only on a corporate board, but then on, she's kind of the crux of leading the way for this high school. That has me concerned. So I don't know if you want to address any of that. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, that's fine. So what we'll be doing, or I especially will be doing, would be looking to partner and develop relations and shadowing opportunities with the neighboring charter schools, and in addition to with any of the district schools in our neighborhood. That being said, we do have an extended startup period, so that would give me the time to develop the training and the necessary information and plan to make sure that I can facilitate the ECAP program.
So why is there such an emphasis on, I guess, what about the ECAP program is kind of you're putting all the eggs in that ECAP basket?
Why is
I've
that
never
so?
seen that done before. So can you kind of tell me how you plan on using ECAP for that?
Okay. So the ECAP, the reason why we decided that it was so important for us is because we wanted to prepare our students for the real world. I'm sure that you heard that here. And one of the reasons way that we can do that is linking our classroom with outside opportunities, education and career action plan. So with any work experience, mentoring we can have from the outside community. We'll be doing that by, like you said, monitoring. The reason why we felt that it was an intervention was because we can have a consistent monitoring of students' progress, also facilitated with teachers. So having teachers check in, for example, maybe during the first hour once a week or so with the students to track their academic progress. Office hours as well outside of school. That way it can be consistently monitored.
I have to say, just looking at what in my other life, looking at what's happening with CTE and the importance of mentorship and internships and externships, and I know folks are starting to talk about seat time issues and others to be able to kind of do more of this blended learning, which I think is what you're kind of wanting to help students find that path for. Really seems to be, I just took a trip to Nashville, to look at what's happening there that the Ford Foundation is working on. And that really seems to be a lot of where, especially when you're dealing with low-income kids or, kids that are coming from some disadvantaged situation, that trying to spark their excitement about an issue or a career path is one of those things that they have found to be very successful in keeping kids engaged and wanting to learn. And so if this is kind of the pathway that you're trying to look, I would say that that's where a lot of, at least where I've been looking at, seems to be a lot where education is going, because if you can't get a kid excited about school, about what they could do with their life, then it really makes it more difficult for them to figure out, why do I need to take algebra? And so I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but hopefully I didn't.
You just confirmed everything. I do want to add, though, that the ECAP, it's to be visited throughout the school year at the end of every trimester. And basically, it becomes a portfolio of their progress and their learning and their goals and the reflections on those goals for each trimester. And by the junior year, senior year, there's a clear path. It also recognizes the successes they've had along the way, and to also get ahead of any weaknesses, and they can plan ahead for that. I believe the TRP was concerned about earning course credit, and we felt this path of using the ECAP, it gives students ownership of their progress. Sometimes I know where I teach now, the interventions that are put into place, sometimes students never even know that these interventions are being done, but this becomes a very much a way to own their learning and their progress and their success and their weaknesses and just be successful. So.
Can you address the TRP also has some issues with, there was a statement made about that if a student could fail a class if they didn't meet the 90% attendance qualification. Can you just confirm or clarify?
Yes.
So if I'm a student and I have an A in my math class, but I'm not there, 85%, or let's say 70%. I only show up 70% of the school day, but a kiddo like me could show up 70% of the school day and get an A.
And what do you do?
Right? So, so would you deny me credit?
We had talked about that in the TRP, and we did come to the conclusion that students who don't meet the criteria, if they show a good faith effort towards meeting it, we can put them before the board, and the board can do final approval. And the TRP agreed that that was a good plan. I don't know why they didn't mention it in the report that they put together. I'm sorry, I don't know why they didn't mention it, but we did say that.
So they'd have to go. So if I'm that kiddo, I'd have to go before the board.
Yes.
To get approval for that credit.
Yeah, and the other thing really is that we don't want to wait until report card time to look at this. That's why we have the ECAP. That's why we have our PLCs every other week, and that becomes part of the PLC agenda is attendance and student concerns.
And then can you confirm that the 3 members of your corporate board are all related?
Yes.
And are there any plans to change that?
Yes.
What are the plans?
And I will let our Director of Business and Operations address that.
We had put in place, working closely with our lawyer, that starting off the founding until upon approval, then Mrs. Holden and Ms. Ferrioli would then step down, and I would be the remaining board member, and then have our 4 board members that we've already selected then step forward and move into their positions. So we would have a governing board of 5 people.
And what about the corporate board?
We, working with the lawyer, she advised that it would be much clearer and more transparent when we combine the 2 together.
Oh.
So it is just one. So there isn't this step, then this step, and then it is just one set board for both. The corporate is the governing board.
Any other questions?
Just a note, I'm inclined to agree with President Sensman that based on the testimony the call to the public produced and what you've said today to approve, but I'm also very pleased that you're doing something with financial literacy, because I think too many people graduate from high school and have no clue, regardless of their financial or their economic status, about how to manage money and making good decisions. So do you have a curriculum already outlined for that?
Yes, actually it is in our course catalog that we have created. So freshman and sophomore, it is financial literacy. And let me just get to it since I don't have it all completely memorized. They are based on the Arizona CTE standards. So freshman and sophomore financial literacy courses will be personal finance and small business enterprise, consumer insurance, customer relations, and business information systems. And then there's also the whole art and design curriculum. We have drawing, painting, and sculpture, graphic design, and art history. And then when students get into their junior, senior year, the focus is more on small business ownership. That will be leadership styles, financial concepts, human resources, and public relations courses, ethics and law, brand development, consumer behavior. And then for that final senior year would be startup and growth, business model, financial plan, and local business internship. And then the junior senior design courses would be graphic design, screen printing, industrial design, art history, studio, and AP studio art.
Thank you.
All right. Board members, any other questions? Ms. Rice.
Thank you, President Sussman. Anne, can I direct these questions towards you? Thank you. As I was going through the TRP recommendation, what I saw here was that you have a ton of managerial and operational responsibilities placed upon your shoulders, such as English language learner development, student information systems, state and federal compliance, and professional development, to name a few.
Yes.
That's a whole lot for one person. And I actually have personal experience with that situation. So I just want you to talk to me a little bit about your experience with those areas, or if you don't have experience, where you plan to get that guidance, because all of these items are ongoing.
Definitely, yes.
Unfortunately. So it's not a one and done per year type thing. So if you could just walk me through that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. So for my responsibilities with ELL, I do have experience with helping facilitate the ELL program at my previous school that I was working at. Even though it was middle grades, the interventions, monitoring, various diagnostics are all the same for even through high school. So I'm comfortable with that. When it does come terms to grant and managerial positions, I don't have as much experience, so I will need to receive the proper training. That can be through Charter School Association and also looking to the community, the neighboring schools within our district area. That being said, I am interested in pursuing secondary education, so that will also help in giving me the necessary experience to do so. In terms of the responsibilities, some of that will be shared with the fellow founding board members as well, in helping to facilitate the school functions. Would you like to specify another question?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Are you good? All right. Board members, any other questions? If not, is there a motion, Ms. Lee? Or do you have any other questions?
No. I'll make a motion on what I think everyone's going with. So, okay. Based upon a review of Copper State Academy's portfolio and the information provided by its representatives and given is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Copper State Academy to establish the Copper State Academy School to serve grades 9 through 12 with an enrollment cap of 150 in year 1, 200 in year 2, 250 in year 3, and 500 each year beginning in year 4.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Close.
Vice President Lee?
I want to explain my answer because I do agree with Kathy that I think teachers, especially in the state of Arizona, should be opening schools. I think they're some of our best school leaders. My fear is that one of the main people doing that have no high school experience in a position that is extremely important to have high school experience in. And I wish that wasn't the case because my answer would be 100% different. And I can't get over that. And so my answer is going to be no. But it's not because I don't believe in your model. And I think that the rigor that you're going to put in that area is actually much needed. And I think students will rise to the occasion. So I have a different perspective than the TRP did on that. And so I just wish I could get there, and I personally can't. But, yeah.
Dr. Crockett?
I'm going to vote aye, also sharing your concerns, but feeling confident that you're going to rise to the occasion.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
I'd like to vote aye and also express to you my appreciation for your approach on board governance and remedying that on your second time around. You guys did a great job, and I also hope that your board will truly not just, sign off on things, but engage and support you because I think this is a really great endeavor with some teachers trying to start something up in a place that needs it. So vote for approval.
Thank you.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Just a comment. I'm reluctant to vote in a way that is not in alignment with the TRP because I value the work they do. It's very important. They know a lot about things I don't know about. However, it was on the business plan really where you missed, and you were fairly close. And what I saw today, that's the importance of coming in front of us, is what you've done with the community members and bringing them here and talking about what you're going to do. And I certainly hope that your board is active and participates in your future success. The other thing that I do think that it's really important for teachers to open schools, but on the other hand, these are businesses and they are highly regulated, and you have a lot of responsibility with our state taxpayer dollars. So I hope you also take that to heart and work on making sure that you are effective in those in that way. I vote yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Twist?
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes through majority vote.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Freedom Prep.
Freedom Prep Academy, Mesa, has submitted a new charter application package to open Freedom Preparatory Academy, serving grades K through 12. According to the plan presented in the application, in its first year, the new school would serve online students, and in its second year and beyond, the school would serve students online and at a planned location in Mesa. The applicant was required to submit an AOI additional information package as a component of its written application package, which met the required criteria as evaluated by Rio Salado. Additionally, the TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package meets the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle. The applicant also attended a capacity interview conducted by the TRP. Based on the scores obtained by the applicant and the additional information provided at the capacity interview, the TRP recommends that the revised application package for the applicant be approved.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
You introduce yourself, your team, and any comments you'd like to make.
Sure. President Sensman and Vice President Lee, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and also charter board staff, good morning. Thank you for having us here today. We're very pleased to be at this stage. As Rachel mentioned, this is a very long and arduous process, many months in the making. So of the 11 that were presented today, we're pleased to be among the 4 that were recommended by the TRP, and of those 4, the one that was substantively complete in the application package. It's okay, I'll present a brief kind of introduction of our team as well as an overview of our school, and then we're free to answer any questions you may have. My name is Sterling Kellis. I am the founding, or one of the founding principals of Freedom Prep Academy, the charter's authorized representative, and the primary author of our written applications. I am a 5th-generation Arizonan with a background in business education and technology. I have 3 post-grad degrees, an MBA, a Master of Education in Administration, and a Master of Information Systems. Before joining FPA, I was the Associate Dean of Technology for the School of Business and Technology at University of Phoenix. In this capacity, I oversaw the academic design, delivery, and accreditation of a portfolio of courses for over 10,000 students. I helped develop curriculum, processes, and teams to advance the education of an additional 160,000 students in 91 campuses and learning centers throughout the country. I taught on-site classes and workshops in information systems, cybersecurity, data science, IoT, virtual reality, and robotics. I assisted with the creation of the college's budget and academic plan and worked with university leadership, instructional designers, and subject matter experts, including Amazon, Adobe, Apple, Google, Microsoft CompTIA, and LinkedIn Learning. I worked with the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools to ensure compliance with rigorous accreditation standards and help develop and deploy curriculum to serve the needs of degree-seeking students. At the K-12 level, I've served as a board member for an Arizona Title I charter school, serving predominantly at-risk students. I served on the finance committee for Town Meadows Elementary, an A-rated school in Gilbert, and provided tutoring and coaching services throughout the state. With over 15 years' experience in education, administration, and instruction, I look forward to bringing my talent, skills, and expertise to Freedom Prep Academy. My experience with technology-driven instructional strategies, charter school operations, and business management will help guide successful startup and help Freedom Prep Academy carry out its academic, operational, and business plans, with key responsibility of overseeing the business in grades 7 through 12 academic plans. And then I'd like to introduce Brent Gardner. He's another one of the founding principals. He is a founding principal of Freedom Prep, and he has a Bachelor of Arts in History and a Master of Education in Educational Leadership from Arizona State University. As a principal at Red Mountain High School, Brent brings invaluable secondary education experience. With over 3,300 students, Red Mountain High School is Arizona's fourth largest district high school and largest school to currently hold the Arizona Education Foundation's A+ School of Excellence designation. As a former AP teacher and current administrator overseeing incoming freshmen, Brent was instrumental in helping Red Mountain earn this prestigious award. As a bilingual administrator, Brent's proven experience and familiarity with the target population will help implement a rigorous program of instruction, including baseline, formative, and summative assessments for both on-campus and AOI students. His background and expertise will greatly benefit the academic and operational plans, particularly as it pertains to hiring and training qualified staff and effectively implementing the program of instruction for grades 9 through 12. Laura Oliver. Laura is an advisory leader and will serve as a founding school board member for Freedom Prep Academy. Laura has a Bachelor of Arts in Education and a Master of Education in Educational Leadership from Arizona State University. Laura brings valuable experience in K-12 behavioral interventions and support, or PBIS, initiatives. Community outreach efforts, and operational fidelity. As a teacher, consultant, coach, and director for early childhood development, Laura has helped improve academic achievement for at-risk populations. In her current role as instructional coach for the Litchfield Elementary School District, she has been instrumental in developing and facilitating response to intervention strategies, mentoring instruction, and improving pupil achievement among disadvantaged student populations. Laura's educational background and leadership experience will greatly benefit FPA's academic and operational plans, with key expertise in the academic plan, particularly as it pertains to K-8 instructional support and intervention. Through proven best practices, she will help promote quality classroom instruction, effective professional development strategies, and collaborative coaching opportunities. Of course, if approved, Freedom Prep Academy will be a K-12 Arizona charter school with an emphasis on STEM learning, performing arts, and classical education. Through a technology-rich learning environment, Freedom Prep will help empower students in and around Mesa, Arizona to better prepare for college, career, and life readiness. Students will enjoy greater freedom and flexibility, with options to attend multiple modalities, including on-campus, online, or in a hybrid learning environment. Busy students can choose between an AM or a PM schedule. High-performing and struggling students alike will benefit from personalized learning plans adapted to meet their unique interests and needs. Focus tracks such as performing arts, digital arts, cybersecurity, pre-med, pre-law, environmental science, and business management will allow students to find and pursue their passion. AP courses, dual enrollment, and workforce certificate opportunities will help students earn college credit while still in high school. If approved, Freedom Prep Academy will bring exciting new opportunities to parents and students and relevant 21st century talent to Arizona communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions for Mr. Kellis?
Yes, hi. I know, sorry.
No.
I'm asking you a question.
Good morning.
Okay.
Happy to answer them.
Can you just tell me why K-12? Because it looks like your model is 7, 11, and why K-12, and then how you instruct a kindergartner online.
That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. In our application, we identified a primary target population, which was 7th through 12th students, residing within a 5-mile radius of our target site location, which would be Mesa Drive and Main Street in downtown Mesa. We anticipate that the majority of our students will come from that population. However, as we began to research and reach out to the target population, we found tremendous interest for students in younger grades. We began to look into that, and we found that in many small communities throughout Arizona, this model would tremendously benefit them as well. As you can see in the application, our first 3 years focus primarily on junior high and senior high students. And then after that, as we continue to develop and support, we will reach down to the younger grades. However, since submitting this over 8 months ago, we've had a lot of growth and interest with that population. So again, using our same model, we do intend to reach down to the younger grades as well. We found tremendous need and opportunity for K-8, specifically as how we address the kindergarten students within an online population. We have a unique model where we deploy 3 separate modalities. Of course, an online or a physical brick and mortar campus where they can come down to the campus. In addition to that, we have online. But what I've recognized is within the online community, there is a need for additional support and intervention, and has been mentioned. We will provide learning centers or small community centers to be able to facilitate that at the K-8 level.
So as a follow-on to that, thank you, President Sensman. As a follow-on to that, are you saying you have a brick and mortar campus and then you also have these learning centers? Is that right? Or can you describe how they differ?
Yes, that's a great question. So kind of our flagship and maybe a similar model would be Arizona State University or Grand Canyon University, where they have a brick and mortar facility where the majority of their students attend. At the same time, there's a population that needs more flexibility and more support, which is also served through the online campus. Just as ASU has multiple campuses throughout the state, it would be similar to that where we would have brick and mortar facilities, which would be identified as learning centers where students could attend, or also called microsites, which would serve a smaller population. Typically, a microsite would serve 5 to 15 students, whereas a brick and mortar learning center would be about 15 to 100 students. But again, within the first 3 years, as outlined in the application, our primary target population is students residing within that 5-mile radius of our target site location, attending our physical campus. This is kind of an extension of a holistic model to be able to serve Arizona students that need this model. Hopefully that answered that question.
And how many students can it accommodate?
For the actual campus, the campus that as we've designed it will accommodate approximately 300 students. That said, within our business model, it's intentionally designed to keep our fixed costs low and our variable costs tied to student enrollment so we can quickly scale up or down based off of need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question, it's a
Sure.
curiosity question.
Mm-hmm.
Having 2 children, how do you do online kindergarten? Because, and is there like a certain type of family, I guess, or individual that would target something like that? Because, I enjoyed a few hours away.
Right.
When
Yes.
my precocious kindergartners were out there. So I'm sure there's a need, but tell me
Right.
about who this would be attractive to.
That's a great question. And we found a few different sub-pumps that fall into this area. As with any quality charter, we've reached out to a lot of different partnerships within the community. One of those is already doing this. It's a Prenda learning model where they set up small micro schools within homes, and then the on-site coach or the guide or the mentor is able to help out, even though the instruction comes from outside of that to that actual location where it's being taught. They've surprisingly grown to, I think, over 80 sites within about 8 months, providing this service to small communities throughout Arizona, showing that there's a tremendous need and an interest, and they serve many students that are in grades K through 2.
And Prenda, you have to pay for that service, correct? With Prenda?
No, it would be a free service. They would be a
Yours
partner
would be a
with
free
us.
service.
That's for the end user. Correct. Yes. For the student, there would be no cost. It would be just
I guess what
as
I'm
if we
saying
were.
but Prenda is not, or do you have to pay for that Prenda service?
Are you asking if the student would need to pay, or if we as a charter
No, I'm
organization
asking
would
for
need to pay?
Prenda because I'm not that familiar with them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I know you don't represent them or anything
Totally.
like that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just curious if, you're obviously a charter is a free education.
Mhm.
So is Prenda the same thing?
Prenda is, and I can't speak directly for them,
Yeah.
but they provide education, and then they partner with existing schools to be able to provide it at no cost to the end user for the student and the parents.
Okay.
At the same time, they also provide for-cost services for somebody, let's say, for example, who was outside of Arizona, or somebody who wanted this model to be able to learn.
Okay.
And it focuses on the simple ABCs of activate prior knowledge, build understanding, and then conquer, collaborate, and create. So there are many similarities with our model of following in the schools and greater instructional time for each course. So that just seemed like a good fit, and we are still working through the details as far as that partnership is concerned, if and when that time comes to serve the younger population. But yes, to that point, that's a great question. As far as the very young population, we will grow down to that. We've seen it work effectively already with their model as well as others. But to your point, we definitely understand the importance of providing additional support and oversight for kinders, for younger kids.
President Sensman, to your question, Prenda's website indicates Prenda offers both tuition-free and low-cost private models depending on where you are located. It is board staff's understanding that Prenda does have an existing relationship with a charter school that has an online component similar to this.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Board members, any other questions or concerns? Is there a motion?
All right. Based upon a review of Freedom Prep Academy, MESA's portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Freedom Prep Academy MESA to establish the Freedom Prep Academy MESA School to serve grades K through 12 using Arizona online instruction, with an enrollment cap of 60 in year 1, 300 in year 2, 540 in year 3, and 720 each year beginning in year 4.
Is there a second? Ms. Crockett, under the wire.
President Senseman?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question before that goes to vote? In Vice President Lee's statement, it said for AOI. I just wanted to find out if we can maybe clarify that it would be a campus and also offer AOI services.
Maybe, Vicki, if we
Or if that's the way that it's written, that's fine. I know that Valor Prep had a similar model last year, and they were approved as a campus location offering online.
I'll look to Rachel and Vicki on the motion that we were provided.
Because this applicant submitted an AOI application package, it would be approved as an AOI. That being said, like Valor Prep, they do have the ability to plant a brick and mortar site and serve students at that brick and mortar site in year 1, even if they are an online school.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Alexis, if you could call the roll, please.
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist?
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, next up, Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy.
Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy has submitted a new charter application package to open Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy, serving grades K through 8 in Page. The TRP evaluated the application package that the revised application package meets the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle. The applicant also attended a capacity interview conducted by the TRP. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP does not recommend that the revised application package be approved because the applicant was not able to demonstrate a viable plan to ensure necessary enrollment. This was the most concerning to the TRP due to the importance of meeting enrollment targets to ensure financial viability of the applicant's proposed charter. Additionally, the TRP had concerns about the applicant's ability to meet the Arizona academic standards with the proposed program of instruction and community members leading certain courses and ensuring that standards are met.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
You could introduce yourself and
Yes.
the team.
Yes. Good morning, Madam President and distinguished members of the board. We are Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy, also referred to as GCOA, based in Page, Arizona. Representing GCOA today are co-founders myself, Susan Pilkington, Justine Carrier, and future board member Mary Francis, right here. We additionally have with us Susan Wright and Amy Payne, who are also on the founding board, and Amy Beanfield is tending to her newborn in the back. I may have to step out. Additional members of our founding board and community members were not able to attend the additional founding board because of the distance that we have to travel to get here. So we believe, though, that we will be able to answer your questions. Due to the fact that we attended all offerings with the Arizona Charter Association, completed intense editing and reworkings of all of our written products, and the entire team came from Page to attend the mock interview with the association, our team was thrilled when we achieved a 100% perfect score on every section of our application. But we were disheartened to learn that, based solely on the interview, the TRP recommended to deny a charter. We are incredibly grateful for this opportunity to address you today. To provide some context, the town of Page, Arizona, a remote community about 275 miles north of Phoenix on the Arizona-Utah border, is a small community surrounded by the greater Navajo Nation. Over 75% of the students served within our current school district identify as Native American, who historically have been put at an educational disadvantage. The inspiration for this charter is to breathe life into a new educational model that addresses the unique array of needs in our community. In addressing concerns, the TRP highlighted that the budget's margins are thin, leaving little wiggle room if we do not meet the projected 90% of enrollment. It should be noted that we purposefully based our 3-year operational budget solely on state per pupil funding, without identifying grants, title funding, Bureau of Indian Affairs funding, and the multitude of additional fundraising strategies. Given our student demographics, we are fully aware that other sources will be available, but we felt that it was imperative to know that we could be 100% self-sufficient without any additional resources. We view our target enrollment at 10% of the current district class size as conservative, especially given the context that the only existing alternative for public education are D, and currently this just switched to the middle school, to an F-rated school, and given the overwhelmingly positive feedback received from our preliminary surveys of 130 families. Target enrollment has been set at 140% capacity with the intent to generate a waiting list as stated in Section C2A. A comprehensive recruitment plan that engages the 4 designated communities in culturally appropriate methods is also included. We fully understand the importance of having a contingency plan. And our contingency plan is based on 50% of the target enrollment and details a number of challenging but necessary measures, including releasing teachers, aides, and administrative staff, shifting to combined classes such as a first and second grade combination class, and switching from a 6-classroom facility to a 4 or even a 2-classroom facility. The TRP identified the recent closure of the Navajo Generating Station just outside of Page as an additional cause for concern regarding enrollment. However, Page Unified School District has not experienced the expected decline in their student body, as this closure has already happened. Also, as a key concern to the TRP was the lack of specifically line-itemed revenue associated with food and transportation services. Anticipating that GCOA's demographics will mimic the district's schools' demographics, we will likely be able to access funding for food services and federal monies associated with the free and reduced lunch program. The PUSD Food Service Director proposed streamlining with the current district school, a model which is already operating successfully at our primary location. GCOA has a 2-pronged transportation plan, which accounts for families living within the city of Page and families living in the remote reaches of the Navajo Nation. Due to the extremely small footprint of Page itself, our primary concern for those low-income students residing within the city limits has been to select a building within walking distance. To support the outlying Navajo Nation communities, GCOA will partner with the Helping Hands Agency, operator of the local express bus, who has agreed to deploy additional buses to the major hubs within the Navajo Nation to align with school start and end times. We have also applied for a grant that would help us with transportation startup cost, and upon receiving our charter, we'll apply for additional grants. From our perspective, the most critical hurdles to overcome are the aforementioned logistical challenges of operating a school in a remote, low-income area. While we intend to dedicate the majority of our 18-month planning period to overcoming these hurdles, we would like to correct several misunderstandings that arose regarding our educational plan during the TRP capacity interview. First and foremost was the issue of community-based specials, frequently known as electives. These courses are not, as the TRP understood, to be taught by volunteers outside the classroom, but rather by paid experts in their discipline under GCOA supervision, meeting AZCCRS measurable objectives, designed by the professional in collaboration with the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, who will track course objective mastery. These services are budgeted for in a 3-year operational budget, and their qualifications and role for the targeted population are outlined in B32 contracted services. Of additional concern to the TRP was the 4-day school week. We serve a semi-agrarian community where students often have caretaking and agricultural roles in the home. Absenteeism is a real concern, particularly on Fridays, where a PUSD administrative assistant recently noted that as much as 1/6 of the student body was routinely absent on that day, leading to duplicate lessons and falling behind in the curriculum. Additionally, a number of major employers in Page, such as the National Park Service, the City of Page, and the medical service industry, also offer a 4-day work week. Nationally, over 560 schools in 25 states operate on a 4-day school week, primarily in rural areas. Studies have shown that a 4-day week reduces absenteeism, provide more time for teachers to engage in professional learning communities, and increase test scores. A 4-day instructional week, therefore, serves cultural, religious, logistical, and professional needs in our community, all backed by a growing body of highly credible evidence and research. We propose an undoubtedly unique educational model for an even more unique demographic. Only 10% of charter schools nationally are in rural communities. Currently, only 6% of the 65,000 Native American students in the state of Arizona attend a charter school, the lowest representation of any subgroup nationally. Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy can combat these statistics, giving our community of Page access to a much-needed choice in quality education with a custom-tailored academic model designed to meet their needs and take advantage of our spectacular natural resources. We view the feedback from the TRP as vital to our school's success, but we implore the board to consider the systematic disadvantages faced by rural schools across the nation. As such, we have strategically voted to temper our opening for 2021 for the express purpose of navigating these challenges. But we cannot move forward with enrollment, grant writing, or transportation contracts without the graces of this board. We deeply appreciate this opportunity to address the board and have prepared comprehensive answers to all concerns noted in the TRP. We completed the capacity interview confident that we had clearly answered the questions as the 120 allotted minutes for the interview were completed in 60 minutes with no additional concerns noted. Yvonne from the Arizona Charter Association has advised that we fully answer these questions to your satisfaction as well as the taxpayers because we take our stewardship of these dollars very seriously and want to completely address all concerns. So basically, we're kind of moving now into we've compiled their answers. If there is something as we go through them that you we're not concerned about at all, you're welcome to stop us, but we really want to be clear in answering these questions.
I think the couple questions I had about transportation and food.
Okay.
You addressed very clearly.
Okay.
And, I really like, that you want to serve the population that you're serving. My biggest concern was being the Navajo reservation of being able to get kids. I appreciate looking at the 4 days, to kind of work with that community of what you're looking at.
Yes.
And I think that, charters that have been on the reservations have not, unfortunately, done as well as I think our board would like to see them. And so I like that you're leaning in, to go to serve this population and to specifically target folks on the Navajo reservation. And I don't know, Hans, if you have any thoughts on that.
Some questions, and they were almost all answered, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think, board members, are there any other?
I do have a couple of questions.
Please, Hans.
I'm glad you recognize the additional funding to cover your margin of errors.
Yes.
And the transportation was a big issue, but you covered that. Lunch, you covered. I had a question about special needs. The percentage of students you anticipate and how you expect to accommodate them.
We broadly expect 10%, as that is traditional, that most populations have approximately 10%. I am a special education teacher and a school psychologist, so that is my area and passion. So what we do want to run an inclusive model. That is extremely important, to be inclusive if at all possible. So during our first year, we budgeted simply for a contracted special education teacher, partly because I have some of that experience and can also help with those pieces. But we did contract for someone. During year 2 and 3, we budgeted for a half-time special education person. But that person would be push in so that those students can run in that inclusive model. I've done a lot of investigations, particularly of a large district in Oregon that is fully inclusive. And I know that does have its challenges, but I believe that if done well, it benefits the entire community.
Okay.
Did that answer your
Make sure
question?
you acknowledged it, yeah. I just want to make sure that you acknowledge that probable need there.
Yes, definitely.
Any other questions?
I just have one because I just don't feel right now asking a question for all the questions I've asked prior people. So
I thought you got worn out.
I know.
We don't want to get left out, so please.
Just real fast. Will you be open on Fridays? So if a student misses one of the Monday through Thursday, because I worked at a school that did Monday through Thursday, but that was kind of the issues when you missed a day, then you missed a lot compared to maybe the 5-day
Correct,
week.
sure.
So are you going to have your site open on Fridays for students?
We do not have particularly say every Friday that our site would be open. But there's another unique component. It wasn't really questioned by the TRP too much, so we didn't fully address it, but called field hours. Because we are an outdoor school, we want to engage our students and our families in additional experiences, and those would go into Friday some as well.
Okay. So this is more of a curiosity question. So you mentioned the outdoor school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's a little chilly up there right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what does a typical day look like for an outdoor school?
We would have a classroom.
Yeah.
There is space, but we also want to both create outdoor classrooms and provide that experiential learning where we are doing place-based work. Yes, it is chillier, but it's
like 60 degrees.
It's chillier than Phoenix, so you all would be freezing, but if you live there, it's not, it doesn't get too bad.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
Exactly. Did you have any of your other folks that wanted to speak to us, or I think we're ready for a motion? Yeah, I think.
Yeah. All right. We'll motion.
We do have
We'll
more,
motion.
but
I think you'll be okay with our motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based upon a review of Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy's portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy to establish the Glen Canyon Outdoor Academy School to serve grades K through 8 with an enrollment cap of 132 in year 1, 170 in year 2, and 192 each year beginning in year 3.
Mr. Close, would you like to second that? Mr. Close, second. Alexis, please call the roll.
Vice President Lee?
Just super excited for your guys' model, and yeah,
Thank you
excited
so
for us to
much.
Get started. Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Miss Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
I want to compliment you on your level of preparedness. You should be like the model of coming to these meetings. So I vote aye and congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Twist? Ms. Yanov?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you so, so much.
All right, next up, Liberty Leadership Academy.
Liberty Leadership Academy has submitted a new charter application package to open Liberty Leadership Academy, serving grades K through 8 in Cottonwood. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application package does not meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle because the education plan scored 92.83%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP does not recommend that the revised application package be approved because of the lack of school administration experience of the applicant team. Additionally, the TRP has concerns about the lack of clarity and viability in the plan for mastery and promotion and the lack of consistency in methods of instruction within the educational plan.
Excellent. If you could identify yourself and...
Yes,
share a
good
little
morning,
about
board
your
members. I'm Mary Miller. I'm CEO of Liberty Leadership Academy. To my left, is Robin Kreutzberg, board president, and Rachel Dubian, who is the proposed principal of the school. Liberty Leadership Academy will be a K-5 academically rigorous performing arts enhanced school that is the brainchild of Rachel Dubian, who has planned for years to develop a charter school offering performing arts as a way to supplement learning skills, increase assessment scores, and help develop students into inquisitive, creative, and responsible leaders in their communities. In her teaching career, Rachel has seen firsthand the erosion of fine arts and performing arts in local public, charter, and district elementary schools alike. Rachel is also the founder and manager of Liberty Performing Arts, a performing arts studio in Cottonwood. Rachel's decision to open a charter school at this time, combining these passions, is largely a reflection of her current situation in that she has a stable foothold in the area she loves and in which she intends to stay. She is married to a Yavapai County, this is a hard one, Yavapai County Sheriff Detective, settled into a house they own in Cottonwood, recently had a daughter. She is a very confirmed and engaged Verde Valley resident. Liberty Leadership Academy is supported by a founding board of 6. They are all Arizonans. 4 of them are in the Verde Valley area. The other 2 of us are in Phoenix. The board will move into a governing phase upon approval of the charter, at which time it will be expanded with additional members to round out experience in school leadership positions. This has always been our plan. Rachel and the board firmly believe, and research supports, that offering performing arts to supplement an academically rigorous curriculum will have positive impacts on academic success, leadership skills, and lifetime success. The team of the Academy further believes that such a school can bring a more positive influence to the education and future potential of the Verde Valley population than what is available in the more traditional schools of the area. And Verde Valley is ready for such a school. Our Liberty Leadership Academy will be established in Cottonwood, Arizona, a rural town of approximately 15,000 students, which is centered in Verde Valley, which has a population of approximately 75,000 students. The school will open with grades K-5 with a projected positively projected enrollment, I might add, of 120 students and an option of expanding in future years to K-8. It is set amidst 19 schools, of which more than 50% are C's and D's and below average AZ merit scores. In addition, there is a dearth of performing arts both in the existing schools and outside those schools for community children. After several years of creating, writing, and substantiating rationale for such a school, the pieces are coming together. Because of the team's very strong community contacts, enrollment is positively projected. The school has amassed a list of potential teachers and staff who will come from the local area and will come close to fully staffing this first year of operations. With the approval of a charter for this school, we can complete ongoing negotiations for an already selected building for which we have a lease in hand, finalize contracts with vendors with whom we have been in discussion, and so on. We also are puzzled at the TRP's recommendation, especially since the same panel awarded revised scores on our plan of 93%, 100%, and 100%, which together, weighted, average 97%. So to go from an A+ review of our plan to this recommendation obviously requires some clarification, particularly in the area of the performing arts, I believe. We have distilled the recommendations to 3 major points that mirror the TRP summary, and I'll defer to Rachel and to Robin to comment on each of those.
Rachel? Good morning. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. So we believe that one of the miscommunications that the TRP was looking at has to do with our correlation between performing arts and the academics. We have chosen nationally recognized curriculum used by many schools with proven success rates, not only for the particular program of academics, but for the schools in general. All of these curriculums that we have chosen have been, like I said, approved, but they'll also be taught with fidelity. So they will be taught 100% as they are intended to be taught. The teachers, some of whom are already trained in these academics, the others, of course, will receive ongoing professional development so that they can teach these programs with fidelity, ensuring that we know the students are going to be successful based on many, many years of success with these programs. In addition, we will teach the performing arts as their own separate classes. And these classes will be taught by highly trained and professionals in each area. So the students will receive their highly trained performing arts in addition to their academics. Just as all teachers do, teachers will need to supplement their education to meet those needs, specific needs of the students. So the performing arts are going to act as a supplement for the academic teachers, just as they would use any other supplemental teaching methods. But in addition, the performing arts teachers will be able to use that academic content to supplement their performing arts technique and skills. And the relationship between these two will bring a correlation for the students that'll really tie in those academic skills and the knowledge with the performing arts, allowing them to retain that knowledge for much longer, as well as engage them. I've seen this in my own classroom as a teacher. I've really seen the performing arts be successful with those students who may or may not demonstrate success in other more traditional methods. Another area that the TRP looked at was our promotion and mastery. They were concerned or a little bit confused on how that works. As always, promotion and mastery is the goal for every student. We want, of course, every student to make at least a year's growth, if not more. When we look at each student individually, they'll be assessed daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually with benchmark assessments, summative assessments, statewide assessments, and these will be an ongoing process. So for promotion, we look at a 70% promotion, which was one of the areas that we believe demonstrates that the student is going to be successful in the next grade level. we understand that a student may not achieve 70% on every single assessment, but when we look at their academics as a whole and their performing arts, which is part of their grades as well, we expect them to achieve a 70%, I would say, average in order to be successful in that next grade level. And so that is our criteria for promotion. Of course, they will be supported along the way. This isn't something that's not going to be assessed at the end of the year with these daily, weekly, monthly assessments and progress monitoring. We're going to know exactly where the students are on a daily basis. So come report cards, there won't be any surprises, and we already know what interventions need to be happening. And as far as school leadership goes, I'm going to let Robin address that area.
So school leadership was the TRP's third major point. And we just want to convey, we want to make sure you know that the team has a wide range of resources for school leadership. The existing board has strong expertise in legal, business, finance, state accounting and reporting systems and grant management, performing arts, facilities, security, fundraising. All of those will flow to the use of the school, to the benefit of the school. In addition, our plan has always included, upon approval of the charter, so that we can add to the board membership without messing up the charter application process, adding to the board's diversity with strong charter school leadership background people. And we currently have 2 potential candidates already under consideration for that, an experienced charter school business administrator and the CEO of an existing highly regarded charter school group. And we will continue our search for other local school leadership expertise to make sure we have experience in charter school governance. Rachel and her team of teachers and staff will contribute their own expertise. Rachel has over 10 years of teaching, 10 years of charter school experience in which she has been in lead teacher roles and where she has demonstrated success in achieving recognition as the teacher producing the highest AZ merit assessment scores for her school, 83% in ELA, 94% in math. Rachel also contributes her operational experiences in the founding, management, and growth of Liberty Performing Arts, which she grew to 100 families by the end of her 3rd year of operations.
All right, are there any questions? All right, I think you guys have satisfactorily answered everything. So, Ms. Lee, if there's a motion?
Based upon a review of Liberty Leadership Academy's portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Liberty Leadership Academy to establish the Liberty Leadership Academy School to serve grades K through 8 with an enrollment cap of 160 in year 1, 200 in year 2, 240 in year 3, and 360 each year beginning in year 4.
Second, Mr. Close. Alexis?
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist?
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
President Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Rachel, Scholars Academy of Sunny Slope.
Scholars Academy Sunny Slope has submitted a new charter application package to open Scholars Academy Sunny Slope, serving grades K through 8 in the Sunny Slope area of Phoenix. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application does not meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle because the operational plan scored 92.86%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP recommends that the revised application package for the applicant be approved.
Welcome. If you can state your name and tell us a little bit about your school.
Absolutely. My name is Tim Boykin, and this is Jason Romero. Before we introduce ourselves and our background, I just first of all want to thank you, President Sensman, and the entire board here, as well as the staff of ASBCS and the TRP panel. We are humbled and we are grateful that we received, at least at the panel level, the approval. However, we understand that that is not a guarantee, and we do not assume that there's a guarantee here. So our goal is right now to present to you, above and beyond that approval, our passion, but also our professional acumen with regards to running a successful school. My name is Tim Boykin, as I said previously. I have a background in education that is over a decade long, 5 years as a teacher at the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade level for an A-rated school, 2 years as the vice principal of an A-rated school, 4 years as the founder of a Title I school very similar to this one that was also an A-rated school upon my exit. With me is Jason Romero, and I'd like for him to have the opportunity to introduce himself as well.
Yes, please.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us today. Yes, my name is Jason Romero. I won't take a lot of your time. I am not an educator, but I was educated in the public education system here in the state of Arizona. Born here, raised here, grew up here. Left very briefly and went to Texas for 4 years for school, and to a school that was playing on Saturday, and I'm licking my wounds from that game, and came back to the state I love and went to law school at Arizona State University, and have been practicing here ever since for a firm previously, and for the last 7 years opened a firm with a friend of mine from law school and have been practicing that way. I've been engaged with charter schools for about 6 years. I was a founding board member of the school that Mr. Boykin founded as well. In the West Valley, and just have a passion for education in Arizona. I have 2 students that are in public school now in the East Valley. My wife is a teacher, special education teacher, so a lot of my knowledge is driven by sort of those around me, but I'm learning as I go on that stuff as well, and then obviously I bring the legal and the business side to it.
Excellent. Are there any questions?
If I could also, we also have Elaine Baldridge, who's not with us. She had a personal family matter that was scheduled way in advance, but she was the former director of the Foundation for Blind Children located a mile away from our proposed facility. So we come to you not just residents born and raised of the great state of Arizona, but also the great community of Sunny Slope.
Excellent. Thank you. Ms. Lee.
Based upon a review of Scholar Academy Sunny Slopes portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to Scholars Academy Sunny Slope to establish the Scholars Academy Sunny Slope School to serve grades kindergarten through 8th with an enrollment cap of 250 in year 1, 300 in year 2, 350 in year 3, and 450 each year beginning in year 4.
Second.
Second, Mr. Close. Alexis?
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist?
Aye.
Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
President Zinsman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Very much.
We will do right by these taxpayers of Arizona. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Rachel, you saved the best for last, right? Or just alphabetically the last one?
They are alphabetically the last applicant. I have no comments.
All right.
Slam Arizona Inc. has submitted a new charter application package to open Slam Arizona, serving grades K through 12 in Mesa. The TRP evaluated the application package and determined that the revised application does not meet the minimum scoring requirements set by the board for the 2021 application cycle because the educational plan scored 82.76% and the business plan scored 90.57%. The applicant requested to proceed to the capacity interview. Based on the responses and additional information provided by the applicant at the capacity interview, the TRP recommends that the revised application package for the applicant be approved.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
Introduce yourselves.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Tony Massa. I'm the vice chairman of SLAM. With us today, well, everyone can introduce themselves if they'd like. This is Millie Sanchez. She's the chief administrative officer. She's a former educator and former principal. She's actually the creator of the SLAM curriculum and SLAM's unique model. We have also Alina Lopez. She's a founding board member for SLAM. She's a K through 12 principal with over 20 years of experience. And we have Alex Tamargo, who is the director of academics for SLAM. He's actually the founding SLAM principal. He's been a teacher and a principal, also with over 20 years of experience. So I guess I'd like to give a little bit of background, if it's okay. Guide us. We're here. We feel privileged. It's been it feels like a long road for us to be here. All roads end here, and we're very excited for this opportunity and to address any questions you all may have, and just to discuss SLAM Arizona and the eagerness and the excitement that we have to bring SLAM Arizona to the community. So SLAM's a nonprofit network of charter schools. We serve students in grades K through 12 throughout the country. We serve over 5,000 students in over 4 states on 10 different campuses. That's Florida, Texas, Nevada, and Georgia. The SLAM's mission is to create an engaging, challenging, and supportive learning environment to produce college-bound graduates and basically position them for success. The interesting thing about SLAM is its unique model. What we've done is we've taken the love of sports and the universal language of sports to engage and hook learners in a way that maybe they haven't been engaged before. I guess the question is, we're in 4 different states, we serve all these different students. Why Arizona? The reason for Arizona is, first of all, Arizona is very welcoming of choice. You empower student choice, and I'm a huge believer and proponent of student choice. Secondly, Arizona is extremely innovative. SLAM is a very innovative model. SLAM, actually, the SLAM in Miami is the first SLAM in Florida and the 3rd SLAM in the country that's going to have a 5G lab. It's actually a Verizon Innovative Lab learning school, and we seek regions that have that innovation. More specifically, I guess, why Mesa? And it's not because that's my last name. It goes deeper than that analysis.
We say it Mesa out here.
Yeah, Mesa. I tried that with the TRP, but it didn't hold. So let me give you a more in-depth explanation. So the reason we are the children of immigrant families, we have seen and we have firsthand the amazing effects that and the transformative power that education has in lives and that can unleash in lives. We have, and the TRP actually in their report made reference to that, how impactful it was. And we didn't mean to be, they use the language, overly enthusiastic. We certainly didn't want to be overly enthusiastic, but it hits home. We know what our parents went through. We know what changed our lives, which is education. And we seek to strive to make generational change and generational impact in communities that need it. So what we try to do is our model, we try to engage, and you'll see, I think, in you guys will guide me how much information you want, but you'll see the level of the demographics that we seek to serve, which is minorities, such as ourselves, as well as economically disadvantaged individuals. And that's our goal. That's what we try to serve, and we serve them well. In Mesa, we see that those demographics match up well with us. So I guess the short answer to that is SLAM's areas of strength match up extremely well with Mesa's areas of needs. And I think Ms. Sanchez could discuss that in a little more detail.
Just to address, because I know this board addressed something earlier with a different application, I know we're applying for a K-12, and traditionally our program has started as a 6-12 model. And just to give you a little bit of background on that, because it's a career academy focused model, we started with the 6-12 program. We noticed back in 2013 when we opened the first SLAM school, and when I say we, I mean the network, obviously SLAM Arizona Inc. is just this would be the first, the only school. When we opened in Miami, and I was there from inception, and so was Mr. Tamargo, he was the founding principal, we had such an overwhelming demand from that community. 97%, to this day, 97% minority community. Over 90% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. We have about 10% students who are homeless. So we understand those challenges. We had space for 1,000 students, and we had 5,000 applicants. And some of these were actually students who applied themselves. Their parents did not know when we did the lottery that they were like, what do you mean we've been accepted? So that was overwhelming. They really wanted this type of program in this type of school. And what we found was we opened the floodgates. We opened 6th through 11th grade. And what Mr. Tamargo discovered is we have 1 year to graduate these kids, and they are far below. So we had our challenges that first year because we learned that in order for us to best serve these students and the communities and the challenges that they come in with, we need to be able to create a culture as early as possible. So to that note, we actually opened, the network opened 2 elementary schools, one in Florida and one in Atlanta last year. So we've been working on this curriculum for the past 3 years because it is important. So now in terms of the SLAM model, we are actually moving down. We're scaling down. But we've been able to show that our students that are coming in these areas in middle school, 2 to 3 grade levels below, are graduating. We will have 100% graduation rate this year. 97% of our students that are in SLAM high schools are in college and are succeeding. And that's the goal. The goal is as early as possible, get them in. It's about not just educating the students in these communities, it's about educating the families as well. So we do, a big part of our program is parent academies, bilingual academies, and really also preparing those parents with skills to go out there and get jobs. And again, just back to the focus of the local community here and what we've done so far. In initiating this process, we reached out to the Charter Schools Association, and they've been amazing. And thanks to Yvonne and the team back there, because they were able to connect us to the local community and to some resources. I was able to meet with the mayor of Mesa, who's really excited. He said if we need a letter of endorsement to come before you today, but he's excited about partnering because he sees that this is something that would really be essential in that community. So we were coming here hoping and expecting a recommendation for approval in order to initiate that process with the city and continue doing our recruitment and outreach in that community.
And maybe if I can just, ask some other out-of-state applicants, the question of tell us about what your Arizona operation is going to look like and kind of who you're hiring and like what are we going to see here in Arizona to have, because I understand from your interviews, or I guess from the first time to the second time, you guys really came in and did a deep dive into the community and, which I very much appreciate you doing that. But I'd just love to hear what is it going to look like in Arizona for us and what is that capacity in Arizona?
So to give you just perspective on the network, SLAM doesn't really operate from the standpoint of it's a cookie cutter and it's one size fits all. We really operate from the standpoint if these schools are going to be successful, they have to take ownership of that community and they have to be part. Obviously, we have best practices in place and we're actually going for corporate accreditation. We're accredited, but now we're seeking corporate accreditation so that any school that opens now under the SLAM umbrella will open accredited from inception. We're going through that process actually. We just had the meeting last week. So our network is basically depending on the communities that we're serving. For example, Atlanta, they have a standalone board. And what we do is we have an affiliation with them and we go support. In order for it to be a SLAM school, we do the curriculum and the support and the PD for the teachers, and we're really aligned to that principle. But they have their local board who oversees that school. So the process is very different, in the same process in Nevada. In Florida, this is the founding board that actually oversees all those schools as well. So the goal here was to make sure that we stay true to our mission and our brand. So that is why the founding board applied under SLAM Arizona Inc. The goal is to bring on local board members of that community who are committed to that mission into that SLAM Arizona board.
And your principal will
and the principal's actually, we were going to do outreach for principal, but she's actually a native of Phoenix. She went to school here. She graduated from Arizona State University. She moved to Nevada and is actually an administrator in our SLAM school in Nevada, but her children are already off to college, so she's coming back home. So she actually reached out and said, can I be part of this process with you? So she actually worked on the application with us. But she's a native. She has ties to this community, and she's really excited to being able to come back and be able to build from there.
She had a capacity interview, but she wasn't able to sit in because we hadn't identified her yet. She was supposed to be here, but she suffered a last-minute illness.
Yeah, she's actually in the hospital texting me, but.
Believe me, I have someone over here sneezing on me, so I do understand that. Board members, are there any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mason.
Can you go into a little further depth about the relationship between the governing board and your corporate board and how that's going to work?
So basically, and just like the SLAM, there's two separate boards in the sense of like we have the SLAM Foundation, which is the board that is there to support any and all of the schools. So what we do, and that board is basically a support entity. In other words, the fundraising, the being able to, the professional development. We create a coalition of teachers so that you can have that collaboration along the networks. But the actual board, the SLAM Arizona Inc., is the board that oversees the school. There won't be any other board overseeing the school. Okay. And that's the board where I'm referring to, that right now there's only 3 board members, but the goal is to have local representation and at least 5 to 7 board members in the future.
And aside from bringing down your employee in Las Vegas, how do you plan to attract those board members? Or who are
we're working, we don't have those local board members yet, because I think the critical part was making sure that when you're serving a community, making sure that you're able to outreach to that community. Typically, they're usually in our other schools, we've had a parent on the board, we've had community members from where, in the vicinity of where the school is going to be. We reached out, like I said, we reached out to the city. He put us in touch with some of the council members in that community to be able to have meetings and be able to roll that out to the community.
And right after this meeting, we actually have a meeting with 2 prospective individuals for potential roles to serve as the board members.
We also have a former student who graduated from SLAM who actually lives here. He's a Major League Baseball player, and he's interested in actually serving on the board, but we haven't solidified anything else as well.
It's a model that we've had and we've never had an issue filling it. What we try to do is we explain to the TRP is we come in with the founding board to ensure the fidelity and the integrity of the mission, and then slowly as we start identifying, I guess, the right fits for the board, they'll bring them on, and then we slowly fade ourselves out as we did in Atlanta and as well as in Nevada.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members?
I just have one quick question. So the SLAM Inc. that kind of maintains the culture, they come to Arizona for training and all that stuff is done local, correct?
Yes,
It's
all
not-
of, like we travel all over. Yes,
And
everything is
support
school-based.
locally.
It's about the school and the local, right?
This man's on an airplane 3 days out of the month.
So we work with that principal, that administrative team. We do annual principal trainings and things like that, but we actually come and focus and work with the schools. Yes.
So they can slamify.
They can slamify. Yeah, we do that training and then they take ownership of it.
Someone was Googling.
So
the report.
an example would be Wednesday and Thursday. Our Nevada team is visiting the Ron Clark Academy in Georgia, and they're going to provide PD for the elementary teachers at SLAM Atlanta. So we also
do a lot of networking, but a lot of it is where we bring the team to the school.
I'm good to.
All right, excellent. Is there a motion, Ms. Lee?
Yes. Based upon a review of SLAM Arizona Inc.'s portfolio and the information provided by its representatives, and given it is within the board's discretion to approve or deny a charter, I move to approve the application package and grant a charter to SLAM Arizona Inc. to establish SLAM Arizona to serve grades kindergarten through 8 with an enrollment cap of 330 in year 1, 468 in year 2, 606 in year 3, and 1,800 each year beginning in year 4.
Second.
Second, Mr. Close. Alexis?
Vice President Lee?
I'm just really excited for your guys' model to be in Arizona, and just your passion was very evident, in your interview. So, aye.
Thank you.
Dr. Crockett?
I'm going to say I too, but I wish for you that this not be the end of your road, the end of your long road, but the beginning of
Thank you so much.
a successful road.
Mr. Close?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
I'm going to vote no, and it's purely based on the fact that I'm not seeing anyone from the state of Arizona on your board at this time. If I saw someone there, I would feel much more comfortable in voting yes. I mean, you guys check every other box, so good for you checking all the boxes, but I'm voting no.
We're working on it.
Ms. Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Twist? Aye. Ms. Yanoff?
Aye.
And Sensman?
Aye.
Motion passes through majority vote.
Congratulations. Welcome to Arizona.
We're very excited. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Mason, we'll let you know as soon as we do that because we're working on that. So, thank you so
Excellent.
much.
All right, that concludes our new applications. Summary of current events. I know Alexis sent out all of the calendar appointments for next year, so those should be on your calendar. And I guess you guys will see each other in January. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.
Can't go home.